Chapter 1604. Jialan Chuyue glanced at her grandpa. Grandpa, we still have a guest who hasn't arrived yet. Shouldn't we wait a little longer? There's no need. If he comes, he will naturally come. Let's start the banquet first. Jialan Yuntian casually spoke. Di Tian lowered his head slightly as his black eyes gleamed with sharpness. He naturally knew who this guest was referring to. His original self in the governor's manor had also received an invitation from the Jialan clan. This banquet was most probably prepared for Qin Wentian. Jialan Chuyue smiled, exuding a sense of elegance and grace. Chuyue, today is your birthday banquet. Uncle didn't prepare anything, please accept this gift. Zhou, who was sitting opposite of Di Tian, smiled. After that, he took out an interspatial ring. Although everyone didn't know what was inside, they knew that it must be an extremely valuable item. Given Jialan Chuyue's status, how could she give out ordinary items? Many thanks, Uncle Zhou. Jialan Chuyue smiled and accepted it. After that, everyone present presented their gifts. Clearly, they were all prepared. Although Di Tian didn't prepare anything, he naturally wouldn't be unable to take out a gift. He took out an emperor-ranked weapon and passed it over with a smile. I didn't prepare anything. Miss Jialan, please accept this. Jialan Chuyue smiled at Di Tian. She received the weapon and smiled. I've always heard of Grandmaster Di's name. Today, I'm finally able to meet you. Being able to receive a gift from Grandmaster Chuyue is truly honored. Miss Jialan is too polite. Di Tian nodded lightly. Grandmaster Di, you can just call me by my name. There's no need to be so polite. In the future, if I want to forge a divine weapon, can I ask Grandmaster Di to help me? Jialan Chuyue smiled. Naturally. If Miss Chuyue has any needs, you can come to the Emperor Pavilion to look for me. Di Tian nodded. Grandmaster Di, this lass is extremely mischievous. Don't agree to her requests too readily. If not, she would definitely annoy you to death. Jialan Yuntian teased. As the current clan leader of the Jialan clan, he didn't even put on any airs when facing Di Tian. This caused Di Tian to look at him in a new light. As an existence that could contend against the Lifire Palace, everyone in the Jialan clan naturally had an extraordinary bearing. Grandpa, how can you say that about your granddaughter? Jialan Chuyue rolled her eyes at her grandpa, acting coquettishly. As an immortal emperor and a supreme beauty, her girlish side was extremely alluring. Ha, did I say anything wrong? Jialan Yuntian laughed uproariously. From this, one could see that the relationship between this grandfather-grandson pair was extremely good. Lord Governor Qin Wentian of the governor's manor has arrived. At this moment, a voice rang out from outside. Immediately, many gazes turned towards the direction of the voice. Many people's eyes revealed sharpness. Has Qin Wentian arrived? From afar, two figures could be seen walking over. The person in the lead was clad in simple white robes. His handsome features and extraordinary aura gushed out from him. Although this was the first time many people saw him, they couldn't help but to silently praise him in their hearts. No wonder the Lifire Empyrean would use this person. Qin Wentian only brought a single person with him. It was a serving girl, as though he wasn't worried that the Jialan clan would act against him. However, everyone also understood that as the governor of the governor's manor, since the Jialan clan invited Qin Wentian, they wouldn't be so foolish as to act against Qin Wentian today. If they did that, it would be equivalent to directly declaring war against the Lifire Palace. In fact, it might even be challenging the prestige of the lifelong realm. Jialan Yuntian stood up. After that, everyone stood up as well. Although in front of Jialan Yuntian, Qin Wentian could be considered a junior, on the surface, Qin Wentian was still the governor of the governor's manor. As the clan leader of the Jialan clan, he naturally had to show proper etiquette. This old man is extremely gratified that Governor Qin is willing to come. Jialan Yuntian smiled at Qin Wentian who was walking over. Please take a seat. Qin Wentian clasped his hands. Since Jialan clan leader invited me, how would Junior dare to not come? I hope that clan leader won't blame Junior for being rude. How can that be? Jialan Yuntian laughed. Quickly take a seat, I still thought that Governor Qin wouldn't be coming. Right. Qin Wentian nodded. He walked to a seat beside Grandmaster D and spoke to the person beside him. Sir, can you change seats? That person started. He turned his gaze to Jialan Yuntian. Upon seeing Jialan Yuntian nodding his head lightly, he stood up. Governor Qin, please. Qin Wentian sat down with a serving girl standing behind him. His gaze turned to Di Tian as he smiled. Grandmaster D isn't in the Emperor Pavilion? Why did you come here? Everyone had mocking looks on their faces when they saw this scene. Before this, Di Tian went to the governor's manor to pay a visit to Qin Wentian, and after that, he took over the ancient river auction house. But who would have thought that Di Tian would stand on the side of the Jialan clan so quickly? Most probably, Qin Wentian felt extremely uncomfortable in his heart. An awkward look appeared on Di Tian's face as he smiled. Lord Governor, the Jialan clan invited me here. Oh, I see. Qin Wentian nodded. A serving girl came over and helped Qin Wentian to change the wine cup. He then poured himself a cup and toasted Di Tian with a smile. In that case, I wish Grandmaster D a bright future. Many thanks, Lord Governor. Di Tian seemed a little awkward as he clinked his wine cup with Qin Wentian. Upon seeing this scene, Jialan Yuntian was naturally happy. He smiled. In the recent tens of years, the two most famous geniuses of our Lifire city are actually able to drink together with me. This is truly the honor of my Jialan clan. His words weren't exaggerated at all. During these 50 years, Qin Wentian and Di Tian rose up one after another. Qin Wentian was famous for his martial arts, and not long ago, the battle he fought shook Lifire city. Who didn't know of his tyrannical strength? As for Di Tian, he was famous for his weaponsmithing and seemed to have the potential to become the #1 weaponsmith in Lifire city. Even if 100 years ago, these two were definitely the most outstanding geniuses of the past 100 years. However, the people here would never imagine, even in their wildest dreams, that these two people who were in conflict right now were actually the same person. The main body was famous for his combat prowess, while his avatar was known as a weaponsmith grandmaster. Not long ago, Governor Qin's battle shook the entire Lifire city. Now that I've seen it for myself, you are truly outstanding. Jialan Chuyue offers a toast to Governor Qin. Jialan Chuyue's beautiful eyes gleamed with sharpness as she toasted Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian calmly glanced at Jialan Chuyue. Although Jialan Chuyue was beautiful, his eyes were calm to the extreme. He casually spoke, since today is your birthday banquet, this seat will give you face. Please. As he spoke, he slowly drained his cup. His words were extremely impolite. Jialan Chuyue's beautiful eyes flashed with a strange light. She also drained her wine and spoke, it's truly regretful that I didn't personally witness the battle back then. Now that Governor Qin has graced my Jialan clan with your presence, would it be possible for Lord Governor to give me some pointers? You aren't a match for me. Qin Wentian calmly glanced at her, not giving her any face at all. Jialan Chuyue's expression froze. What sort of character was she? There had never been someone who didn't give her face like this before. However, she still restrained her emotions and smiled. Governor Qin, aren't you a little too confident? Leaving aside the fact that our cultivation bases are the same, even if you were stronger, you wouldn't be a match for me. Qin Wentian's tone was filled with unmasked dominance. His gaze turned to a figure opposite him as he coldly spoke, if the Jialan monarch is willing to spar with me, this seat is willing to act. The Jialan monarch's eyes were as cold as blades, staring at Qin Wentian like a venomous snake. Ever since Qin Wentian stepped into this place, his gaze had never left Qin Wentian. He naturally knew that Qin Wentian hated him to the bone, but didn't he also want to kill Qin Wentian here? Back then, this person killed his way into his emperor palace, and because of Qin Wentian, many of his descendants died. Because of Qin Wentian, the Jialan monarch's power was greatly damaged, causing him to feel immense pressure from the Li-Fire Palace and even the Jialan clan. Back then, when he was still at the initial stage of the immortal Emperor realm, he already dared to kill his way into the Emperor Palace alone and fought against the Crow Emperor. After that, when he was at the mid-stage of the immortal Emperor realm, he killed over 10 immortal emperors at the ancient river auction house. Hence, he lost the confidence to win against a character he once held in contempt. Thinking back then when he brought Princess Kitamura and Qin Wentian into the Emperor Palace, how could he care about a minor character? But now, this minor character has already grown to such an extent. Governor Qin, this old man invited you here today, but I'm sure many people would misunderstand my intentions. The Jialan clan has been established in Li-Fire City for many years, but we don't have many enemies. This isn't because our Jialan clan is afraid of trouble, it's simply because we don't wish to have too many enemies. You might have some conflicts with him, but I've already understood everything that happened back then. Although this son of mine was in the wrong, you and Yi Qianyu were bandits. Even if it was any of the 9 monarchs, they would still do everything they could to deal with the two of you. Let alone the fact that the one who acted in the end was the Li-Fire Palace. Hence, it's not impossible to resolve this conflict. As the sound of Jialan Yuntian's voice faded, everyone here was shocked as they stared at Jialan Yuntian with bewilderment in their eyes. Even Qin Wentian had a strange look on his face. As the clan leader of the Jialan clan, he actually invited him here because he wanted to mediate? Naturally, Qin Wentian wouldn't believe him just because of a single sentence. He started for a moment before he smiled. Will the Jialan monarch agree? Back then, he caused the Jialan monarch to suffer heavy losses. How could the hatred between the two of them be so easily resolved? Naturally, as long as Governor Qin is willing to give up, I can guarantee that the Jialan clan will no longer make any moves against you. As for Yi Qianyu, I understand as well. You should know the reason why the Li-Fire Palace imprisoned her. If Governor Qin is willing to be friends with the Jialan clan will do their best to help Yi Qianyu. Jialan Yuntian spoke, wanting to pull Qin Wentian to his side. Leaving aside other matters, can I trust the clan leader? Qin Wentian laughed. I can make the decision and marry a maiden of my Jialan clan as a concubine. Also, regardless of her status or appearance, her status in the Jialan clan wouldn't be inferior. Jialan Yuntian spoke, causing the hearts of everyone to tremble. Even Qin Wentian was silently impressed. As expected of a lord of an entire region. But I want the Jialan monarch to die. Qin Wentian's voice was cold, there was basically no room for negotiation. Given the current situation, Yi Qianyu was imprisoned and the Jialan monarch was here as well. It was impossible for him to change sides. Chapter 1605. Jialan Yuntian's expression sank. Everyone turned to him and someone spoke, Governor Qin, don't go too overboard. The Jialan clan leader has already given you enough face and is even willing to marry the daughter of the Jialan clan as a concubine. Why must you be so overbearing? I'm afraid the conflict between me and the Jialan monarch can't be resolved. Hence, one of us has to die. Am I right? Qin Wentian smiled at the Jialan monarch. The Jialan monarch coldly stared at Qin Wentian. If he knew that Qin Wentian would have such a day, he would have spared no expense to kill him back then. Since this is the case, this old man won't say anything more. Governor Qin, please consider this carefully after you return. My Jialan clan will not make any moves against Governor Qin. I hope that by taking a step back, we would be able to gain Governor Qin's friendship. Jialan Yuntian stared at Qin Wentian. Let's not talk about this matter for now. Let me propose a toast to Governor Qin. Please. Qin Wentian raised his cup and the two of them directly drained it. Because of Qin Wentian's presence, the atmosphere of the banquet wasn't that relaxed. Hence, after a few cups, Qin Wentian spoke, I still have some matters to handle in the governor's manor. I, Qin, will bid my farewell first. Right. Since this is the case, Governor Qin, take care. Qiuyue, help me send Governor Qin off. Jalan Yuntian spoke. Yes, Grandpa. Jalan Chuyue stood up and walked to Governor Qin's side. Governor Qin, let me send you off. You're too polite. I can leave by myself. Qin Wentian stood up and left. However, Jalan Chuyue merely smiled and continued standing at the side, guiding Qin Wentian out. Qin Wentian's serving girl quietly followed behind them. Governor Qin, why must you be so heartless? My Jialan clan has been established in Lifire City for many years. At that time, even the Lifire Empyrean wasn't around. My grandpa treats you like this not because he's afraid of trouble, but because he respects you as a character. In fact, he isn't even willing to pursue the revenge of my uncle's family. Jalan Chuyue spoke in a light voice. One couldn't help but say that beauties truly had an advantage. This was especially so for peak-level beauties. Jalan Chuyue's words didn't cause Qin Wentian to feel any disgust. For some things, it's good that Miss Jalan is clear about it. If back then, the daughter of the Jalan monarch, Jalan Mingyue, was like you, if the Jalan monarch was like the people of the Jalan clan, there wouldn't be such a grudge today. Qin Wentian laughed. Jalan Chuyue's beautiful eyes flashed as a look of contemplation appeared on her face. She then smiled. I hope Governor Qin can think things through. After sending Qin Wentian out of the Jalan clan, the host of today's banquet, Jalan Chuyue, finally returned. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. This Jalan clan was truly powerful. The banquet this time around allowed him to see the strength of the Jalan clan. Secondly, it allowed him to create a rift between him and Di Tian. Sadly, the Jalan clan didn't know that he was Di Tian and Di Tian was him. Thirdly, it was also an extremely important point. This point was more obscure but extremely terrifying. The Jalan clan sent out an invitation for peace. Although he directly rejected it, what would the Lifire Empyrean think if this matter was circulated to his ears? Would he be suspicious? After Qin Wentian left, many people at the Jalan clan's banquet expressed their anger towards Qin Wentian's attitude, hoping that the Jalan clan would act against him. However, Jalan Yuntian didn't express his stance and didn't mention this matter again. After Jalan Chuyue returned, everyone began to enjoy the banquet. After several months, a guest came to the governor's manor, directly looking for Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian immediately agreed to meet with him. Governor Qin, how's the situation in the northern city regions recently? The Purple Moon Immortal Emperor smiled as she asked. The person who came was none other than the Lifire Empyrean's personal woman, the Purple Moon Immortal Emperor. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a smile, exuding an extraordinary aura. Everything is fine. Recently, there hasn't been any commotion in the northern city regions. The Jalan clan is also temporarily very quiet. Qin Wentian smiled. The two of them sat together and enjoyed tea. Oh. The Purple Moon Immortal Emperor smiled. But I heard that some time ago, the Jalan clan organized a birthday banquet for Jalan Chuyue and even invited Governor Qin to attend. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. As expected, the Lifire Empyrean actually sent the Purple Moon Immortal Emperor over to inquire about this matter. However, he still felt somewhat puzzled. Even if the Lifire Empyrean was suspicious, there was no need to make things so obvious, right? Qin Wentian nodded without batting an eyelid. In addition, the Jialan clan is extremely cunning. They even wanted to bury the hatchet and turn hostility into friendship, marrying a female of their clan to me. As he spoke, even Qin Wentian shook his head. Such a good thing, Governor Qin, why didn't you agree? The Purple Moon Immortal Emperor had an ambiguous smile on her face. Qin Wentian stared at the elegant and dignified Purple Moon Immortal Emperor, silently musing at how the Lifire Empyrean knew how to enjoy life. He smiled, leaving aside the fact that this matter might be a scheme of the Jialan clan. Even if it wasn't, would I agree? The Purple Moon Immortal Emperor's beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian exchanged glances with her, and upon seeing the offensive look in her eyes, Qin Wentian bitterly smiled. Fairy, if you look at me like this, I won't be able to bear it. Oh. How can I not bear it? The Purple Moon Immortal Emperor actually had an ambiguous smile on her face, exuding a feminine aura. Don't, the Liefire Empyrean will kill me. Qin Wendian shifted his gaze away. The Purple Moon Immortal Emperor laughed lightly as her eyes flashed with a bright light. Which woman in this world wouldn't like to be admired by others? In addition, Qin Wendian was only admiring her, he wouldn't dare to profane her. She naturally wouldn't mind it. Governor Qin, the Liefire Empyrean asked me to come here to pass on a message. If Governor Qin achieves great merits in the future, he might even allow Yi Qianyu to leave the Liefire jail. The Purple Moon Immortal Emperor suddenly spoke. Qin Wendian's eyes flashed as he stared at the Purple Moon Immortal Emperor and nodded. Fairy, help me thank the Liefire Empyrean for his kindness. Emicham, I still have to go to other places. I'll bid my farewell first. The Purple Moon Immortal Emperor stood up. I'll send you off. Qin Wendian stood up as well, sending the Purple Moon Immortal Emperor away. After the Purple Moon Immortal Emperor left, a look of contemplation appeared on his face. At this moment, a voice rang out in his mind. He immediately took out his messaging crystal and asked, Beauty Xiao, why are you looking for me? Hee, Governor Qin promised to pay a visit to my southern governor's manor when you're free. In that case, are you free now? Beauty Xiao's charming voice rang out in Qin Wendian's mind. He smiled, Beauty Xiao, it's not good for me to leave for now. Oh. What if I know an important piece of news? Beauty Xiao seemed to be very confident. She continued smiling, it's regarding Yi Qianyu. Qin Wendian's eyes flashed. Important news regarding Yi Qianyu? He inclined his head and glanced at the Purple Moon Immortal Emperor who had already left. His eyes involuntarily narrowed as he asked, Beauty Xiao, can you tell me what news it is exactly? Come to my governor's manor and I will tell you. Beauty Xiao giggled. Qin Wendian placed his messaging crystal down. After that, his silhouette flashed as he directly flew out. In the southern governor's manor of Liefire City, Qin Wendian entered. A serving girl led him to a beautiful garden by the lake. This wasn't the first time he came to this governor's manor. Although the one who came here before was his avatar Di Tian, he was by the lake and this time around, he was in the garden. Governor Qin, please wait here for a moment. Our Lord Governor will be here shortly. The serving girl smiled and bowed before retreating, leaving behind Qin Wendian alone. The fragrance of the garden permeated the air. There was tea on the table. He lifted his teacup and quietly sipped on it. However, after waiting for a period of time, he still didn't see any traces of Beauty Xiao. His immortal sense involuntarily extended outwards, arriving at the place where Beauty Xiao and Di Tian went to previously. The lake was sparkling and in the middle of it, a beauty was currently bathing. Her wet hair cascaded down her shoulders, revealing her smooth and delicate skin. Her countenance was extremely charming and her smile was extremely alluring. Qin Wendian was somewhat speechless as he retracted his immortal sense. After that, he heard Beauty Xiao's alluring voice drifting over, since you've already seen it, why are you still fleeing? Governor Qin, do you want to bathe together? The temperature of the water is extremely comfortable. Beauty Xiao, do you know why I'm here? Qin Wendian asked. Come over, I'll tell you now. Beauty Xiao giggled. Qin Wendian stood up. His silhouette flashed and very soon, he arrived at the side of the lake. He stood there with his hands behind his back as he quietly stared at the beauty bathing in the lake. Can I do it now? Qin Wendian calmly stared at the beauty bathing in the lake as he asked. Only to see Beauty Xiao walking towards the side of the lake. Her upper body gradually floated up to the surface of the water, revealing her snow-white skin. She was clad in a thin layer of clothing that was completely wet and stuck tightly to her body. Her devilish figure was almost translucent, causing the blood of those who looked at her to boil. Beauty Xiao supported her long hair with both her hands, flinging it behind her back, exuding boundless charm. Stepping onto the shore, Beauty Xiao simply stood beside Qin Wendian, exuding an incomparable charm. She smiled, Governor Qin, do you want to hear it now or do you want me to change my clothes first? I'll wait here for a while. Qin Wendian calmly spoke. However, his heart wasn't calm at all. Such a scene, as long as he was still an ordinary person, he wouldn't be able to remain calm. But at his current cultivation realm, his state of heart was transcendent and his self-control was naturally extremely strong. Okay, in that case, Governor Qin, please wait for me. Beauty Zhao's eyes seemed to be able to hook away the souls of people. She passed by Qin Wendian, leaving behind a fragrance. Qin Wendian came to a pavilion and sat down, quietly waiting. Not long after, Beauty Zhao walked out wearing a tight-fitting nightgown. Her entire body was rosy, exuding a different kind of charm, yet similarly tempting. Beauty Zhao, can you tell me now? Qin Wendian asked. Why are you so anxious? Could it be that I have no charm at all in front of you? Beauty Zhao spoke with hidden bitterness. Beauty Zhao, could it be that you don't know how strong your charm is? It's just that you should know that the person in the Lifefire jail should be me. I'm naturally concerned about Yi Qianyu's news, please tell me. Qin Wendian bitterly smiled. Hug me, I'll tell you in your ear. Beauty Zhao smiled charmingly. Qin Wendian's face was filled with black lines. He stared at Beauty Zhao's beautiful eyes staring at him and knew that this demoness wouldn't give up until she achieved her goal. Walking up, Qin Wendian hugged Beauty Zhao and whispered in her ear, can you tell me now? Beauty Zhao also hugged Qin Wendian with both her hands. Her entire body seemed to be plastered to his body, exuding great temptation. She breathed into Qin Wendian's ear and slowly spoke, I received news that the lifelong realm wants to transfer Yi Qianyu away from the Lifefire Palace. Chapter 1606. Qin Wendian's body trembled when he heard Beauty Zhao's voice. He gently pushed her away as his dark eyes gleamed with sharpness, is this news true? Beauty Zhao's charming eyes stared at Qin Wendian with hidden bitterness, don't you know that this is very hurtful? Beauty Zhao, you should know that this news is very important to me. Qin Wendian stared at her. AI, is the disparity between me and Yi Qianyu so great? Beauty Zhao sighed. She stretched out her jade-like hands and held on to Qin Wendian's handsome face as she smiled, this news is naturally true. Could it be that I called you here just to lie to you? Why would the lifelong realm interfere in this matter? Qin Wendian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. Beauty Zhao smiled as she stared at Qin Wendian, did you manage to form a connection with the Jialan clan? Jialan clan? Qin Wendian's heart trembled, he suddenly thought of the Lifefire Empyrean's personal serving girl, the Purple Moon Immortal Emperor. Before this, he already suspected that although the Jialan clan invited him, the Lifefire Empyrean shouldn't have made things too obvious, making the Purple Moon Immortal Emperor personally make a trip to his governor's manor. However, after hearing Beauty Zhao's words, he realized that things weren't as simple as he imagined. The Purple Moon Immortal Emperor might have gone there to probe him, wanting to see if he knew that the lifelong realm wanted to transfer Yi Qianyu away. If he revealed some clues and was discovered by the Purple Moon Immortal Emperor, most probably, his collusion with the Jialan clan would be proven true. Upon thinking of this, Qin Wendian involuntarily broke out in cold sweat. If the Jialan clan really acted, the Jialan clan was simply too terrifying. Not only was the power behind them terrifying, there were also their methods. A simple invitation to a banquet, he basically didn't care too much about it. But at the banquet, the Jialan clan actually wanted to make peace with him. But even so, he didn't take it too seriously. What was truly terrifying was that they actually had a backup plan waiting for him. The Lifefire Empyrean was able to control him, Qin Wendian. Other than strength, what did he rely on the most? There was no doubt that it was Yi Qianyu. By imprisoning Yi Qianyu in the Lifefire jail, Qin Wendian could only be at ease and work for the Lifefire Empyrean, allowing him to deal with the Jialan clan. But if the Jialan clan acted against Yi Qianyu, pulling out the firewood from under the cauldron, how would the Lifefire Palace view him, Qin Wendian? If it was in the past, the Lifefire Empyrean might not really care about Qin Wendian's existence. Placing him in the Northern Governor's position was merely a test. After all, no matter how many people the Liefire Empyrean sent to that position, the ending would always be extremely miserable. If Qin Wendian couldn't do it and was killed by the Jialan clan, the Liefire Empyrean wouldn't care too much about it. However, it just so happened that Qin Wendian used 50 years of time to cause a huge commotion in the northern city regions, displaying his capabilities. Even the Jialan clan wanted to use him and were willing to disregard past enmity, even foregoing the enmity of the Jialan emperor's descendants. After all, they were all descendants of the Jialan clan. What are you thinking about? Beauty Xiao couldn't help but ask when she saw Qin Wendian's expression changing. Can the Jialan clan successfully transfer Yi Qianyu away from the Liefire Palace? Qin Wendian asked. Right now, this was the crucial point. If the Liefire Palace suspected something, they would definitely not transfer Yi Qianyu away. How can I be clear of the battle between the upper echelons? As for the exact ending, I have no idea. Beauty Xiao smiled at Qin Wendian. I'll tell you this important piece of news. How are you prepared to thank me? Beauty Xiao, if there's anything you need my help with, feel free to tell me. Qin Wendian knew that since Beauty Xiao could obtain news from the Liefire Palace, it wouldn't be so simple for her to do so. He had to maintain this layer of relationship. After all, although he used iron-blooded methods to temporarily dominate the northern city regions, he was still like a blind man in the Liefire Palace. He had no idea what was going on. For such important news, he still needed Beauty Xiao to tell him. Beauty Xiao's eyes were like silk, her alluring body was almost pressed against Qin Wendian's. He could faintly feel the softness of her body. Beauty Xiao stretched out her jade-like hands and placed them on Qin Wendian's chest. She then gently spoke, could it be that you don't know what I want? Beauty Xiao, I'm not a gentleman. You are so beautiful, an exceptional specimen in the mortal world. If I can have a night of romance with you, it wouldn't be a loss to me at all. It's just that I have to give consideration to your status and beauty. You should find a good Dao companion and not be defiled by me. Qin Wendian directly spoke, his words causing a bright light to flash in Beauty Xiao's eyes. Her jade-like hands circled Qin Wendian's neck as she pressed herself against Qin Wendian's body. Her breath smelled like orchids, I'm willing. You are so handsome, it's still unknown who would be the one suffering the loss. Qin Wendian's body was burning hot, Beauty Xiao's entire body was pressed against his. Her body was so soft that it seemed as though there were no bones in her. He stared at the alluring eyes of Beauty Xiao as a fiery heat flashed in his eyes, it's the hardest to accept a beauty's kindness. Beauty Xiao, have you thought this through? You are so long-winded. Beauty Xiao giggled, exuding an extreme charm. Her entire body was pressed against Qin Wendian's body. Qin Wendian stared at Beauty Xiao, only to see her smiling again. Are you afraid that I would cling on to you? Or are you afraid that I would eat you up? Upon seeing the look of disdain in Beauty Xiao's eyes, Qin Wendian was completely speechless. Are you a man or not? Beauty Xiao's voice was filled with ecstasy. Her nightgown slid down a little, exuding a boundless allure. When Qin Wendian lowered his head, he could see her snow-white and perfect cleavage. Don't regret this. Qin Wendian's eyes turned red as he stared at that perfect spot. He directly carried Beauty Xiao in his arms and walked in the direction of the bedroom. The smile on Beauty Xiao's face grew even more radiant. Her entire body was pressed against Qin Wendian's body, her fragrance wafted over. Her soft lips touched Qin Wendian's ears as she whispered, let's go to the garden, the scenery there is even more beautiful. Qin Wendian only felt his entire body heating up. In truth, it was just like what he had said, as long as it was an ordinary person, it would be hard for them to resist the extreme temptation of a supreme beauty like Beauty Xiao. The scenery in the garden was especially beautiful, the people were beautiful, and the sounds were even more beautiful. After a round of lingering, it was unknown how ecstatic it was. The flower petals on the floor formed a bed, and the fragrance permeated the air. Beauty Xiao's body was covered in sweat, and the feminine fragrance on her body mixed together with the fragrance of the flowers, adding to her charm. Her devilish figure was curled up in Qin Wentian's embrace, and it was unknown how mesmerizing her eyes were right now. She gently spoke, "Why don't I follow you and be your concubine in the future?" Qin Wentian stared at the sky. "Do you regret it?" "Regret?" Beauty Xiao giggled. "Do you really think I want to be your concubine? Don't you know how terrible your current situation is? Sandwiched between the Lifefire Palace and the Jialan clan, it's unknown when you would lose your life. In the outside world, I don't want you to know of our relationship. But since I've done this once, it's already worth it." Beauty. Qin Wentian glanced at the vixen beside him. "Since you have already taken advantage of me, help me keep a close eye on the Lifefire Palace in the future." Beauty Xiao had a smile that was not a smile on her face as she stared at Qin Wentian. She then spoke in a light voice, "I thought I was already very cheap, taking the initiative to throw myself into your arms. But I didn't expect you to be even more shameless, wanting me to help you do things after sleeping with me. However, seeing how comfortable it is for you to serve me, I'll help you keep a close eye on them, so that you will have a chance to rescue that little lover of yours from the Thousand Feathers Palace." Beauty Xiao stared into Qin Wentian's eyes. "How can there be a woman like me in this world? I clearly know that you want to make use of me, that's why you slept with me, but I didn't have any complaints at all." "Make use of me?" Qin Wentian mumbled. "Maybe." He then spoke, "Beauty, if there's a day when I have a conflict with the Empyrean, which side would you stand on?" "I'll stand on the side of whoever has the advantage." Beauty Xiao smiled. "Don't think that just because you slept with me, I'm yours. However, if you really want the position of the Lifefire Empyrean, let me remind you. Just relying on strength is insufficient. Even if you really have the strength to defeat the Lifefire Empyrean one day, you won't be able to sit on that position. The Lifefire Empyrean is in charge of one of the 9 world palaces and is a subordinate of the Realm Lord. If you kill him, wouldn't you be offending your superiors? If everyone is so impudent, how would the Realm Lord manage the lifelong realm? Unless, you can gain the favor of the Realm Lord and the Realm Lord is willing to give you a chance to compete fairly." Qin Wentian glanced at Beauty Xiao in bewilderment. This woman's thoughts were extremely sharp and intelligent. Even when it came to relationships between men and women, she didn't care about it at all. It was clearly unrealistic to want her to stand on his side to deal with the Lifefire Empyrean. However, it was clear that she had a more favorable impression of him compared to the Lifefire Empyrean. She was willing to help him in the dark. "In that case, what do you think I should do now?" Qin Wentian asked. "Regardless of the Lifefire Palace or the Jialan clan, both of them have the ability to crush you to death. However, the Lifefire Empyrean hopes to use your subordinates as a chess piece to find a way to deal with the Jialan clan. Hence, he doesn't want you to die. But once he discovers that you have truly colluded with the Jialan clan, you will definitely die miserably. Clearly, you cannot take this step. As for the Jialan clan, they can also kill you, but right now, it's already very tough for immortal emperors to kill you. The price they have to pay is too great and they might even give the Lifefire Empyrean an excuse to do so. Hence, unless there's no other choice, they wouldn't act. Hence, the Jialan clan would rather disregard past enmity and want to rope you in. Now, they are trying to drive a wedge between you and the Lifefire Empyrean." Beauty Xiao analyzed to Qin Wentian. "Hence, on the surface, you still have to exert pressure on the Jialan clan, but you mustn't move too fast. At the same time, you have to grow stronger and attract the attention of the lifelong realm. Only by doing so would you have a chance of survival. I have no way to come into contact with the lifelong realm." Qin Wentian spoke. "There will be a chance very soon." Beauty Xiao's charming eyes were like silk as she stared at Qin Wentian. Every 100 years, the lifelong realm would organize a gathering between the 9 world palaces. The Empyreans of the 9 world palaces, as well as their respective monarchs and governors, would all head to Lifelong City. Right now, the 100-year period is about to arrive. Hence, your chance has arrived. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with sharpness. However, Beauty Xiao soon giggled. "However, the lifelong realm wants to transfer that little lover of yours away." The lifelong Empyrean is already suspicious of you. If Yi Qianyu is really transferred away, I'm afraid this trip to Lifelong City would have nothing to do with you. The lifelong Empyrean wouldn't bring you there. Chapter 1607. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with a strange light. Wouldn't the Lifefire Empyrean bring him there? He knew that what Beauty Xiao said might be the truth. If Yi Qianyu was really brought away from the Lifefire Palace, the Lifefire Empyrean would surely be wary of him and wouldn't give him a chance to display his brilliance. This was especially so in the lifelong realm. Standing up, Qin Wentian cast a glance at the beautiful woman lying lazily on the bed. I'll return first. Inform me if there's anything you need. As he spoke, he put on his robes and directly departed. Beauty Xiao instantly sat up when she saw this scene. That alluring figure of hers trembled slightly from anger, her eyes filled with hidden bitterness as she stared at Qin Wentian's departing back. This bastard, he was truly a bastard. He left just like that. But after that, she giggled, exuding boundless charm. She slowly stood up, her devilish figure was enough to cause countless females to be envious. Her hands gently caressed her soft and supple body as a charming smile appeared on her face. Sadly, no one could see how alluring she was right now. After Qin Wentian left, he didn't think too much about what happened between him and Beauty Xiao. This was purely an accident and he had no feelings for Beauty Xiao. In addition, Beauty Xiao was the one who took the initiative. He didn't feel that he owed her anything. After several months passed, an order was sent over from the Lifefire Palace. The Lifefire Empyrean would bring the various monarchs and governors to Lifelong City. However, the northern city regions weren't stable and they told Qin Wentian to stay here. Next 100 years, they would bring him to the Lifelong Realm to pay a visit to the Realm Lord. As to why they sent this order, it was because according to the usual practice, they had to bring Qin Wentian there. They naturally wouldn't be able to hide this from Qin Wentian. Not long after this order was passed down, another piece of news came from Beauty Xiao's side. Yi Qianyu would be transferred from the Lifefire prison to the Lifelong Realm. As for the specifics, Beauty Xiao wasn't too sure. After Qin Wentian learned of this, he felt that time was pressing. Today, Di Tian came to the Jialan clan for a visit. Jialan City of the Jialan clan received Di Tian. His daughter, Jialan Chuyue, accompanied him. Grandmaster Di, why are you so free to pay a visit to my Jialan clan? Jialan Qing smiled, his tone was extremely friendly. I heard that the once 100 years lifelong banquet is about to begin. The lifelong realm lord would summon the 9 world palace lords as well as the various monarchs and governors. At that time, many peak powers of the lifelong realm would also head there to pay a visit to the lifelong realm lord. I wonder if the Jialan clan will head there as well. Di Tian asked. Oh. Helan Chang's eyes flashed with a strange light as he asked, Grandmaster Di is right. It's just that Grandmaster Di is interested in this matter. Lifefire City is too small. I wish to head out to broaden my horizons and see if there's a chance for my Emperor Pavilion to expand there as well. Di Tian slowly spoke. Helan Qing stared at Di Tian. I didn't expect Grandmaster Di to be so ambitious. Since this is the case, why don't Grandmaster Di accompany us there? My Jialan clan has a spatial teleportation array that can directly connect to Lifelong City. For this point, only the Lifefire Palace and my Jialan clan can do it. Since this is the case, I, Di, will have to thank you. Di Tian nodded. Grandmaster Di, don't forget about the Emperor-ranked weapons you promised me. Jialan Chuyue, who was at the side, gently smiled. She who was noble and dignified exuded a unique charm when she smiled. Miss Chuyue, if there's anything you need, feel free to look for me anytime. Di Tian smiled and nodded. Right. Jialan Chuyue's smile was gentle and beautiful. Di Tian bid his farewell and after he left, Helan Qing turned to Jialan Chuyue and asked, Chuyue, what do you think of Di Tian? He's mysterious and extremely intelligent. Although he seems easygoing and harmless, he's actually an extremely dangerous character. As for his weaponsmithing prowess, there's naturally no need to talk about it. But what I'm truly curious about is Grandmaster D's combat prowess. He rose to fame through weaponsmithing, and the only time he fought was in the Yen clan. That battle was merely a battle of sparring using formations, but he was able to use absolute strength to suppress characters at a higher level than him. Although it's a battle of formations, it's also a battle of strength. It's hard to guess his combat prowess. Jalan Chuyue slowly spoke. With regards to Di Tian's combat prowess, many people would habitually ignore it. His proficiency in weaponsmithing was sufficient to conceal it, causing others to not pay attention to him. He had even rejected Liu Feibai's challenge before, causing him to be criticized by others. But could his combat prowess really be that weak? Being able to rise up in such a short period of time, how can he be truly harmless? When he first appeared, he used the identity of a formations grandmaster, helping the various major and minor powers to inscribe formations, not rejecting anyone. When the time was ripe, he directly entered the Yen clan and caused the Yen clan's reputation to hit rock bottom with a single battle. After that, there were many dangers, including Xia Ho's attempt to kill the Emperor Pavilion, but all of them were resolved by him. After the ancient river auction house was sealed, he then rapidly entered the northern city regions. His speed and timing are truly astonishing. Helan Qing slowly spoke. Chuyue, this man, and Qin Wentian are both truly outstanding characters. If they grow up, they would surely be able to cause a storm in the lifelong realm. Father, why do you think so highly of them? Jalan Chuyue asked. Don't you feel that Qin Wentian is too arrogant? When he first assumed office, he slew his 3 vice-generals. In the battle at the ancient river auction house, he killed over 10 immortal emperors, including several peak-stage immortal emperors, shocking the northern city regions. Leaving aside the fact that he already has the qualifications to be arrogant, just by talking about how he endured for the past 50 years, he had no choice but to do so. He wanted to let the Lifeire Empyrean see that although your talent is extraordinary, even father has no choice but to say that both of them are much more outstanding compared to you. Helan Qing laughed. It's still unknown whether Qin Wentian is a friend or foe. Di Tian, don't think that he has already chosen to stand together with our Jialan clan. However, both of them are worthy targets for us to recruit. If Chuyue likes them, maybe even your grandfather might agree. Father, what nonsense are you talking about? Jalan Chuyue glared at her father. Helan Qing laughed. Fine, I won't say any more. You will naturally be the one to choose your Dao companion. Father only feels that in the younger generation of Lifeire City, it's even harder to find someone more outstanding than these two. Jalan Chuyue's beautiful eyes flashed, many people flashed through her mind. After that, she mumbled, there aren't any in Lifeire City, but what about Lifelong City? Helan Cheng's eyes flashed with sharpness when he heard his daughter's words. Lifelong City. Indeed, that place was the true gathering place for geniuses. The true peak powers were all located in Lifelong City, and many of them were existences on the same level as their Jialan clan. The Jialan clan was a peak power in the Lifelong realm and had once contended against the Lifeire Empyrean for the position of World Palace Lord. Their power naturally wasn't limited to Lifeire City. If not, how could they contend against the Lifeire Empyrean? Although the Jialan clan was a power that originated from Lifeire City, there was also a Jialan clan in the largest city of the Lifelong realm, Lifelong City. In addition, the Jialan clan in Lifelong City had already grown extremely powerful after countless years of development. In Lifelong City, the teleportation array of the Jialan clan lit up with a dazzling light. After that, a group of experts appeared. It was none other than Jialan Yuntian and his juniors from Lifeire City. Clan leader. Many people were waiting here respectfully. When they saw their arrival, all of them bowed. Big brother. An imposing-looking middle-aged man walked over and called out to Jialan Yuntian. This man was none other than the second son of Jialan Yuntian's generation, Jialan Yunhai. His strength was extremely tyrannical, and right now, the people in Lifelong City had always been managed by his faction. Uncle. There were several immortal emperors beside Jalan Yunhai. There were both males and females, all of them greeted Jalan Yuntian. Chuyue has already grown so beautiful. Jalan Yunhai smiled at Jalan Chuyue. I pay my respects to second grandpa. Jalan Chuyue bowed slightly. Emichim, you are already at the mid-stage of the immortal emperor realm. Your grandpa often praises you. It has been a long time since I last saw you. As expected, not only are you as beautiful as a celestial maiden, your cultivation base hasn't fallen behind at all. It's time for you to find a good family with an outstanding background. Jalan Yunhai laughed. Jalan Yuntian frowned. The people around him all had strange expressions on their faces when they heard this. Let's go, the banquet has already been prepared. Big brother, it has been a long time since we drank together. Jalan Yunhai laughed. This time around, in order to welcome Big Brother, I have prepared many good wines and even invited some esteemed guests to accompany us. Emichim, Jalan Yuntian nodded. Is father doing well? Old man has always been busy with his cultivation. It has been a long time since I contacted him. Big brother, you should know how important this step is to him. Jalan Yunhai spoke. Their father was none other than the person who fought against the Liefire Empyrean for the position of the Liefire Empyrean back then. Emichim, Jalan Yuntian didn't say anything. Behind him, a young man beside Jalan Chuyue glanced at the person beside Jalan Chuyue and asked, Little sister Chuyue, this person seems very unfamiliar. He isn't someone from our Jalan clan, right? This is Grandmaster D, a guest of our Jalan clan. Since we are traveling together, we decided to come here together. Jalan Chuyue replied. Grandmaster? The young man laughed. The title of Grandmaster isn't something everyone can use. I wonder what sort of Grandmaster D is. Grandmaster in formations, Grandmaster in weaponsmithing. Jalan Chuyue calmly replied, her voice filled with unhappiness. After all, Di Tian was her guest and the words of the young man were filled with disdain. Oh. In Liefire City, as long as one knows a little about formations and weaponsmithing, one can be considered a grandmaster. The young man laughed. In Lifelong City, those who can be referred to as grandmasters are all extraordinary characters. What do you mean by that? Jalan Chuyue frowned as she coldly asked. Little sister Chuyue, don't be angry. I'm just casually saying it, I don't mean anything by it. Grandmaster Weaponsmithing is one of the guests my grandfather invited today. At that time, I can seek guidance from that Grandmaster. The young man laughed. Qin Wentian, who was at the side, was wearing a mask. His eyes gleamed. Seems like the powerful Jalan clan wasn't that united internally. Naturally, his target for this trip wasn't the Jalan clan but the lifelong Saint Hall instead. As for the masked him right now, it was his true self Qin Wentian and not his avatar Di Tian. After changing into Di Tian's robes and using a sealing treasure to seal his aura, as long as he didn't break the seal and release his aura, no one would be able to discover it. Chapter 1608. Qin Wentian quietly stood there. Although Jalan Yuntian was the clan leader, he knew that the true controller was none other than Jalan Yuntian's father. That old ancestor of the Jalan clan had once fought against the Liefire Empyrean for the position of clan leader. If it wasn't for such a character existing, what could the Jalan clan use to contend against the Liefire Empyrean? Jalan Yuntian was the eldest son and was in charge of Liefire City. As for the Jalan ancestor, he brought his second son along to establish a foothold in Lifelong City. Hence, Qin Wentian could faintly guess the origin of the internal conflicts in the Jalan clan. Maybe, the people of Jalan Yunhai's bloodline were no longer willing to submit to Jalan Yuntian as the clan leader. This guest of his could be said to have been caught in the crossfire. It wasn't good for them to directly use Jalan Yuntian's bloodline to speak, yet they pointed the spearhead at him. However, this seemed to be a matter between juniors. Jalan Yunhai pretended that he didn't hear it. Jalan Chuyue's beautiful countenance flashed with anger. She who was cold naturally exuded a Jalan aura. Jalan Sky Wolf, Grandmaster D is a guest. You should show some respect. Little sister Chuyue must have misunderstood. It's extremely normal for grandmasters to seek guidance between each other. How would there be any disrespect? The young man casually spoke. He then glanced at Qin Wentian. Grandmaster D, what do you think? He emphasized the word grandmaster, as though he was intentionally mocking Di Tian. Qin Wentian's eyes outside the black mask were extremely cold. He calmly glanced at Jialan Skywolf as he asked, are you talking to me? Jialan Skywolf started. He then smiled, Grandmaster is truly interesting. I'm naturally talking to you. Oh. Qin Wentian nodded, that would depend on the person seeking guidance from me. Just like what you said, not everyone can be called a grandmaster. Hence, not everyone can seek guidance from me. Similarly, not everyone has the qualifications to speak to me. As he spoke, he cast an indifferent glance at Jialan Tianlang before shifting his gaze away. His gaze contained a cold mockery. Jialan Skywolf's gaze froze, he was actually stunned by Qin Wentian's words. After he recovered, a strange smile suddenly appeared on his face as he spoke, I've long heard that some grandmasters have strange temperaments and are extremely arrogant. Now that I've met them for myself, they truly live up to their reputation. In the end, they only came from a place like Lifire City. With that, he just smiled coldly and didn't look at Qin Wentian again. Jialan Chuyue didn't bother about it anymore. She glanced at Qin Wentian and transmitted her voice, Grandmaster D, I'm sorry. It's fine. Qin Wentian smiled as he glanced at Jialan Chuyue. That flawless countenance attracted the attention of many from the younger generation. Although they were related by blood, they still couldn't help but to steal a few more glances at such a beautiful woman. Jialan Chuyue, who had the title of the #1 beauty in the northern regions of Lifire City, was undoubtedly the #1 beauty in the entire Jialan clan. Not long after, everyone arrived at the spacious banquet area. The banquet had long been prepared and many people were already seated. All of them were extremely powerful characters, and with a single glance, almost all of them were at the Immortal Emperor realm. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed, he silently mused that as expected of the most flourishing city in the Lifelong Realm, Lifelong City. This place was the absolute center of the Lifelong Realm. Most probably, ordinary immortal emperors wouldn't have the qualifications to be arrogant here. Numerous gazes turned towards Jialan Yuntian and his group. The gazes of the older generations were mostly on Jialan Yuntian, while the gazes of the younger generations instantly locked onto Jialan Chuyue. Beautiful women would always attract the attention of others, this was especially so for a beauty like Jialan Chuyue. Big brother, today I've invited some experts from the peak powers of the Lifelong Realm to come and hold a welcoming banquet for Big brother. These are experts from the Xianyuan clan, they are one of the most ancient aristocratic clans in the Lifelong Realm. Their ancestor once fought alongside the Lifelong Realm Lord, and now, the Xianyuan clan controls an incomparably vast divine weapon trading industry. In this lifelong city, the Xianyuan clan is ranked #1 in terms of divine weapon trading. This is an elder of the Xianyuan clan, Xianyuan Hao. Jialan Yunhai pointed to a middle-aged man as he introduced him to Jialan Yuntian. Jialan Yuntian's expression stiffened as he glanced at Xianyuan Hao. Although he had always been guarding Lifire City and was in charge of the foundation of the Jialan clan, as the clan leader of the Jialan clan, how could he not know about the Xianyuan clan? This Xianyuan clan was definitely a supreme aristocratic clan. To think that Jialan Yunhai actually had a connection with them. Elder Xianyuan. Jialan Yuntian politely nodded his head. However, Xianyuan Hao merely sat there and nodded his head in response. Di Tian instantly understood the disparity between them. Lifelong City was as expected of the #1 city in the Lifelong Realm. The aristocratic clans here were so powerful that it was suffocating. An elder of the Xianyuan clan already had a status that wasn't inferior to Jialan Yuntian, the clan leader of the Jialan clan. There's a Xianyuan palace out of the 9 world palaces. Could it be that it has a connection with the Xianyuan clan? Qin Wentian transmitted his voice to Jialan Chuyue as he asked. The ancestor of the Xianyuan clan once fought alongside the Realm Lord. The Xianyuan Palace of the Nine World Palaces was specially established for the sake of the Xianyuan clan. In addition, the Xianyuan Palace is passed down from generation to generation. It isn't something the Li-Fire Empyrean can compare to. Jialan Chuyue replied, but her brows were tightly furrowed. Jialan Yunhai actually had a connection with the Xianyuan clan. She faintly felt that something was wrong. Beside Xianyuan Hao, there was a young immortal emperor. His eyes flashed with a dazzling light as he stared at Jialan Chuyue. Jialan Chuyue calmly glanced at him and nodded her head slightly. However, she only saw that the young man didn't seem to feel awkward at all. He only had an evil smile on his face, causing Jialan Chuyue to feel a little uncomfortable. Those over there are people from the Sword Spirit sect. I'm sure Big Brother has heard of them before. Jialan Yunhai pointed to a major power as he laughed. Unparalleled sword control, the Sword Spirit sect. Jialan Yuntian spoke. An old man sitting there smiled and nodded. His eyes gleamed with sharpness as he nodded, that's right. Jialan Yunhai laughed. He then pointed to another direction and spoke, those are people from the Heaven Punishment sect. Jialan Yuntian's expression froze again. It was another peak power. Today, Jialan Yunhai invited the three peak powers of the lifelong realm over. His intentions were definitely not simple. The people from the Jialan clan who came from Li-Fire City all discovered something strange. Although they saw people from the three peak powers, their hearts weren't at ease at all. Yunhai, you said that Jialan Chuyue of the Jialan clan is a beauty that can topple empires and has shocking talent. Before this seat didn't believe you, but from the looks of it now, it seems like what you said is true. An elder of the Xianyuan clan, Xianyuan Hao, smiled at Jialan Chuyue. His gaze was like he was looking at his daughter-in-law. During these years, the Jialan clan grew stronger and stronger. I didn't expect that not only in Lifelong City, there would be such extraordinary characters in Li-Fire City as well. The old man from the Sword Spirit sect also laughed. Qin Wendian discovered something interesting. These people all had young immortal emperors with them, and their gazes were all filled with a scorching heat when they stared at Jialan Chuyue. In that case, the meaning of this banquet was clear even without words. Jialan Yunhai wasn't arranging a welcoming banquet for Jialan Yuntian and the others. This was clearly a matchmaking banquet for Jialan Chuyue. The countenances of Jialan Yuntian and the others all changed. Jialan Yunhai smiled, Big Brother, quickly take your seats. We are preparing to start the banquet. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. These people were all here for Jialan Chuyue. There was no need for him to get involved in this. He smiled and clasped his hands to Jialan Yuntian, since we've already arrived at Lifelong City, Senior Jialan, D, will bid my farewell first. Jialan Yuntian, Jialan Chuyue, and the others all started, but they didn't say anything. D Tian originally only wanted to follow the Jialan clan to Lifelong City. Now that the Jialan clan was in such a state, it was only normal that he wanted to leave. Grandmaster D, didn't you want to seek guidance on the Tao of weaponsmithing? In the Xianyuan clan, there are true supreme weaponsmiths. Why is Grandmaster D in such a hurry to leave? Jialan Skywolf turned his head and glanced at Qin Wendian as he calmly spoke. Qin Wendian frowned. This Jialan Skywolf actually didn't want to let him go. Grandmaster D, the Xianyuan clan is a peak power. Although I believe in your weaponsmithing abilities, it's best if you don't get involved in this. After all, it wouldn't be good for you to offend the Xianyuan clan. Jialan Chuyue's voice rang out in Qin Wentian's mind, reminding Qin Wentian in private. Farewell. Qin Wentian replied. After that, he glanced at Jialan Skywolf with disdain before turning and preparing to leave. Jialan Skywolf, what's going on? Someone from the Xianyuan clan asked. Nothing much. Earlier, this man claimed to be a weaponsmithing grandmaster. I told him that there are true supreme weaponsmithing grandmasters here and not everyone has the qualifications to be called a grandmaster. And the truth is indeed as I said. Some of the grandmasters actually fled with their tails between their legs. I wonder how little sister Chuyue got acquainted with them. Jalan Skywolf casually spoke. Jalan Skywolf, don't go overboard. Jalan Chuyue frowned. She was already extremely unhappy with Jalan Yunhai's arrangements. Jalan Yunhai wanted to make use of her. Once the descendants of these peak powers really fell in love with her, Jalan Yunhai would surely use his clan's connections to make her compromise, right? And although these people were all characters from the peak powers, they were merely descendants of elders. Clearly, they didn't fit the criteria of a Dao companion in her heart. Did I say something wrong? Jalan Skywolf started. After that, he smiled at Qin Wentian, who turned around. Qin Wentian. Grandmaster Qin Wentian, what do you think? Qin Wentian's eyes suddenly flashed with an evil smile. He slowly walked back to Jalan Chuyue's side, and under the bewildered gaze of Jalan Skywolf, Qin Wentian stretched out his hand and actually held Jalan Chuyue's hand. At this instant, Jalan Chuyue's body trembled, but for some reason, she actually didn't reject and allowed Qin Wentian to hold her hand. A charming smile even appeared on her face as she lightly leaned on Qin Wentian's arm. At this moment, the gazes of everyone froze there, staring at the charming Jalan Chuyue. Chapter 1609. Jalan Chuyue was originally already extremely beautiful. She was the #1 beauty in the northern city regions of Lifire City. Even in the lifelong realm, she could be considered a peak-tier beauty. She who was elegant and dignified was actually acting like a little bird right now. Her beautiful eyes shone brightly as a radiant smile appeared on her face. Humph, an elder of the Xianyuan clan, Xianyuan Hao, suddenly snorted coldly. His expression turned exceptionally unsightly as he coldly stared at Jalan Yunhai. The experts from the Sword Spirit sect and Heaven Punisher sect all had unsightly expressions on their faces. This caused the expression of Jalan Yunhai, who hadn't been paying attention to the situation here, to change. Today, he held a banquet to welcome Jalan Yuntian, but he truly wanted to make use of Jalan Chuyue. He wanted Jalan Chuyue to form a marriage alliance with the three peak powers. If someone from the three peak powers fell in love with Jalan Chuyue, he could ask his father for her. Jalan Yunhai's side might object, but for the sake of the clan, his father would definitely consider the bigger picture. Jalan Yuntian's influence would gradually weaken and the position of the clan leader should belong to him. Big brother, when has Chuyue ever been betrothed to someone? Jalan Yunhai stared at his elder brother as he asked. Jalan Yuntian coldly glanced at him. Chuyue's marriage is something that she can decide herself. What's there to say about betrothing? Jalan Yunhai's expression didn't change. He then asked, this Grandmaster D, why haven't I heard Big Brother mention him before? Which peak power is he from? Grandmaster D is a peak stage weaponsmith Grandmaster. He established his own Emperor Pavilion, there's no need for him to be from any peak power. Jalan Yuntian coldly spoke. A mid-stage immortal emperor established his own power. A mocking laugh rang out. It was none other than the young man sitting beside Xianyuan Hao. My Xianyuan clan has many Grandmaster weaponsmiths, including many peak stage ones. Before this, I heard from Jalan Skywolf that you want to seek guidance from him. Xianyuan Hao also spoke. He who sat there exuding an arrogant attitude, his eyes filled with disdain when he glanced at Qin Wentian. That's just someone who thinks he's infallible. I didn't say that I wanted to ask for advice, and I don't intend to ask Xianyuan to prove anything. It's a very boring thing in itself. Qin Wentian faintly spoke. However, the young man beside Xianyuan Hao actually stood up and smiled. I feel that this is quite interesting. I have an emperor-ranked weapon with me that was forged by a Grandmaster weaponsmith of my Xianyuan clan. Since you claim to be a Grandmaster weaponsmith, why don't you take out the weapon you are most satisfied with? As the sound of his voice faded, before Qin Wentian could reply, a terrifying aura gushed forth. The young man from the Xianyuan clan had an evil smile on his face as he took out a divine weapon. Emperor light shone resplendently as astral light cascaded down from the heavens. In an instant, a heaven-rending aura gushed forth from the weapon, exuding an aura that could split the heavens and earth apart. The divine weapon in the hands of the young man was merely a ring, and he directly wore it on his finger. He took a step forward and smiled at Qin Wentian. "Grandmaster D, what do you think of this divine weapon?" As he spoke, he stretched out his finger and pointed it at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian smiled. He took out a glove, and similarly, a terrifying sealing light descended from the sky, as well as a supremely powerful suppressive law energy. He wore the glove on his hand and stretched it out. In an instant, boundless sealing energy gushed forth, resembling an incomparably terrifying sealing palm imprint. Qin Wentian clenched his fist, and instantly, the heaven-rending law energy was sealed away. The evil smile on the face of the young man instantly vanished. His steps also stiffened. Qin Wentian smiled and continued to clench his fist. The body of the young man trembled violently, as though he was being held down by a formless sealing palm. The power of the divine weapon ring in your hand isn't bad. Just a random divine weapon you took out could already unleash such might. You even needed this seat to personally take out a divine weapon to suppress it. The Xianyuan clan truly lives up to their reputation. Qin Wentian replied. Although it was a compliment, it caused the young man to feel his face burning up. He felt extremely ashamed. The eyes of the people in the surroundings all gleamed with sharpness. Jialan Chuyue stared at Qin Wentian in bewilderment. After that, a bright light flashed in her eyes. Although this fellow took out many divine weapons to auction in Lifire City, it seemed like he still had many good items in his hands and was reluctant to take them out. Grandmaster truly lives up to his reputation. Is this glove truly the work of a grandmaster? Xianyuan Hao stood up, his eyes gleaming with sharpness. The Xianyuan clan was famed for the trading of divine weapons. Xianyuan Hao was naturally an expert in this aspect. If this glove was truly forged by Qin Wentian, he was definitely a terrifying weaponsmithing genius. Naturally, his weaponsmithing abilities are unrivaled in Lifire City. Jialan Chuyue spoke. If Grandmaster is free, feel free to pay a visit to my Xianyuan clan in the future. Xianyuan Hao instantly became more polite to Di Tian. After that, he glanced at his son and spoke, "Why are you still not apologizing to the Grandmaster? Step down." The expression of that young man stiffened as an unnatural expression appeared on his face. But when he saw the sharpness in Xianyuan Hao's eyes, he still bowed. "Grandmaster D, sorry for the offense." "No worries." Qin Wentian casually spoke, silently musing that none of these people were simple characters. Jialan Yunhai's expression changed. He stepped out and spoke, "What are you all standing for? Grandmaster D, please be seated." Qin Wentian glanced at Jialan Yunhai, feeling that it was ridiculous in his heart. He then coldly spoke, "It's fine, D, still have things I need to do. I won't be staying here any longer. Farewell." This. Jialan Yunhai's expression changed. Qin Wentian couldn't be bothered with him and directly turned to leave. Jialan Chuyue still held onto his hand as she spoke in a light voice, "Let me send you off." As the two of them walked out, a calm voice rang out, "Hold on." Qin Wentian turned his head only to see a terrifying gaze shooting over. It was like countless formless swords directly piercing through Qin Wentian's eyes, piercing into his soul. The sword spirit sect was unrivaled in sword control. They could control swords of souls, killing people formlessly. Qin Wentian's gaze abruptly turned incomparably terrifying. With a single glance, the holy sword intent pierced through that expert from the sword spirit sect. A scream of misery rang out as that expert from the sword spirit sect covered his eyes with his hands. Qin Wentian snorted. He then turned and continued walking out. That expert from the sword spirit sect stood up, only to hear Xianyuan Hao speaking, "Can't afford to lose." That expert stiffened. After that, he slowly sat back down and stared at the young man beside him. That young man moved his hands away and slowly opened his eyes. Streams of blood flowed from them. His eyes were extremely terrifying. If it wasn't for Qin Wentian showing mercy, that expert would have already been blinded. This man is also proficient in soul attacks. The young immortal emperor's voice trembled. In that instant earlier, he felt as though he had experienced something extremely terrifying. Jialan Yintian's eyes flashed with a dazzling light. This Grandmaster D was truly mysterious and unfathomable. Seems like the matter today might not be a bad thing. He glanced in the direction Qin Wendian left. When he saw Qin Wendian and Jialan Chuyue walking side by side, a faint smile flashed in his eyes. As for Jialan Skywolf, his countenance had already turned ashen. Only now did he know that the character he was mocking was far more outstanding compared to him. Qin Wendian suppressed the Xianyuan clan in weaponsmithing and defeated the Sword Spirit sect in soul attacks. As for him, from the start until now, Qin Wendian had never seriously glanced at him. Only now did he know that Qin Wendian's gaze was filled with disdain. Jialan Chuyue sent Qin Wendian to the exit of the Jialan clan before she released her hand. She smiled at Qin Wendian and spoke, "Grandmaster D, have you taken enough benefits? I'm doing this to help you. In that situation, if it wasn't for me, how awkward would it be for you?" Qin Wendian shrugged. "Emicham, in that case, I really have to thank you." Jialan Chuyue rolled her eyes at Qin Wendian, exuding a unique flavor. "Sure." Qin Wendian seriously nodded. Jialan Chuyue didn't expect Qin Wendian to be so shameless. Her beautiful eyes widened as she stared at him. After that, she smiled, "In that case, how does Grandmaster D want this little girl to thank you? Why don't you devote your life to me?" A strange look appeared in Qin Wendian's eyes as he smiled at Jialan Chuyue. He didn't expect that this number one beauty of the Jialan clan would actually have such a mischievous side. Seems like the external appearance of everyone might not be their true selves. In that instant earlier, Jialan Chuyue actually no longer had any wariness in her heart towards him. If not, she wouldn't have made such a joke. This caused Qin Wendian to feel a little strange. What if she knew that he was using her in the future? What would she think? "Since you are such a beauty, I shall accept your invitation." Qin Wendian smiled. Jialan Chuyue glared at Qin Wendian, but there was also a smile on her face. She surveyed Qin Wendian, "You truly have many secrets on you. Lu Feibai challenged you but you rejected him. Right now, even the immortal emperor of the Sword Spirit sect couldn't withstand a single glance from you. From this, one can very well imagine your strength. You are definitely not inferior to Lu Feibai. In addition to your weaponsmithing abilities, how many secrets do you have exactly?" "My greatest secret might be that I wanted to meet you and gain your trust." Qin Wendian smiled. "Oh. In that case, you have succeeded." Jialan Chuyue smiled. "However, if you want to make me more trustworthy, can you take off your mask for me to take a look? You wouldn't be afraid that I'm too ugly, right?" Qin Wendian laughed. "Don't worry, if you really see my face, you would definitely not be an old man. Maybe, I would be even more handsome than you imagine. You would surely be greatly shocked." "Is that so?" Jialan Chuyue's beautiful eyes blinked. She stared at Qin Wendian. "You have already taken advantage of me but you still don't want me to take a look? Isn't this unfair? No one has ever seen my face under the mask before. You want to be the first? This isn't enough." Qin Wendian had a devilish smile on his face. Jialan Chuyue seemed to have understood the hidden meaning in his words. Her face turned slightly red as a hint of shyness flashed in her eyes. This made her even more beautiful. "Ha, I'm leaving." Qin Wendian laughed uproariously. After that, his silhouette flashed as he soared through the air. Staring at his departing back, Jialan Chuyue stood there in a daze. After that, a radiant smile appeared in her eyes, extremely beautiful. Chapter 16:10. Lifelong City was very vast. As the center of authority of the lifelong realm, one could very well imagine how prosperous and powerful the lifelong realm lord was. There was no suspense at all, this was the largest capital city in the lifelong realm. Every 100 years, the lifelong realm lord would summon the world palace lords of the 9 world palaces to the lifelong realm for a gathering. This was also the time when the 9 world palaces would pay tribute. The monarchs of the 9 world palaces would pay tribute once every 10 years, but the world palace lords would pay tribute once every 100 years. Every 100 years, there would be a grand banquet. Not only would the experts of the 9 world palaces gather in Lifelong City, some of the peak powers of the lifelong realm would also gather here to enjoy this banquet. And the time of this banquet would be 7 days later. Because of the upcoming grand banquet, Lifelong City was exceptionally lively during this period of time. All the major powers of the vast lifelong realm traveled millions of miles to attend the grand banquet. They didn't want to miss this opportunity. After all, to the people of the lifelong realm, being able to attend such a grand banquet was extremely beneficial to their state of mind. In addition, only those experts from the major powers had the qualifications to attend. The weaker characters from the minor powers had no way to travel across the boundless land to come here. They also didn't have enough resources to support them in using the teleportation array. The various governor manors in Lifelong City also started to get busy. This city was divided into 36 regions, and the governors of each region were all peak-stage immortal emperors, standing at the absolute peak. As long as they could advance a step further, they would have the qualifications to contend for the position of World Palace Lord of the 9 World Palaces. In addition, there were 4 Grand Governors in Lifelong City. Each of them was in charge of the 9 regions, and their cultivation bases were all extremely terrifying. They were all existences on the same level as the World Palace Lords and were the protectors of this city. It was impossible for the Realm Lord to have the leisure time to manage the matters of Lifelong City. Naturally, the 4 Grand Governors would help him share the burden. If the cultivation bases of the 4 Grand Governors weren't high enough, how would they be able to intimidate the peak powers of Lifelong City? To be able to be called a peak power, it meant that there would be people at the Palace Lord level. These people were in the realm between immortal emperors and world overlords and could be called half-step world overlords. There were also people who referred to them as saints. This meant that from this step onwards, they had truly stepped into the realm of transcendence. From the celestial phenomenon realm to the immortal foundation realm, one would shed off their mortal body and become an immortal. Regardless of king or emperor, they would all be considered immortals. But if one transcends the immortal emperor realm, they would be above immortals, transforming into saints and could be referred to as sages. Qin Wendian walked on the bustling streets of Longevity City. At this moment, he was wearing a simple white robe. There was not a speck of dust on his body. He took off his mask and restored his original appearance. At this moment, the entire space trembled as a terrifying aura gushed over. Qin Wendian inclined his head and stared over, only to see a group of experts from afar. They were clad in silver-colored armor that was thin yet sharp, gleaming with a terrifying light. Beneath their feet, there were many fearsome flying-type demonic beasts. Everywhere they passed by, people would retreat. What a heroic army! Qin Wendian silently mused. The weakest among them was at the peak stage of the immortal king realm, and there were quite a few immortal emperors. Such an army could only be seen in Lifelong City. If it was in a small city, it would definitely be a shocking sight to behold. This army came to the side of Qin Wendian. Qin Wendian retreated to the side as he inclined his head and stared at the people in the air. At this moment, he only saw a cold and sharp gaze staring at him. This gaze was extremely terrifying, like a bolt of lightning that directly penetrated through Qin Wendian's eyes, as sharp as an unsheathed sword. Qin Wendian felt a surge of energy gushing over. He furrowed his brows, but when he saw the other party's expression turning even colder, he relaxed his brows and didn't mind it. The other party flew through the air in a grandiose manner, exuding a domineering aura, as though there was nothing in their eyes. How arrogant! Qin Wendian stared at the departing back view of the army as he murmured. The army of Governor Shao is naturally arrogant. A person walked over from the side and laughed in a low voice. Qin Wendian turned his gaze over. It was an old man with a cultivation base at the initial stage of the immortal emperor realm. Old sir, the Governor Shao you are talking about, are you referring to Governor Xiao Yu? Qin Wendian smiled as he asked. Naturally. As the youngest governor of Lifelong City, Xiao Yu is a supreme genius nurtured by a peak power, the Sword Spirit sect. His arrogance has long been famous throughout Lifelong City and he has the qualifications to be arrogant. Even the Grand Governor would regard him highly. This Xiao Yu has never given face to the Grand Governor before. Even the Realm Lord once praised him and the other governors he leads are all as arrogant as him. The old man laughed, counting the geniuses at the peak of Lifelong City, he seemed to be filled with pride as well. But I heard that this Governor Xiao Yu is not only arrogant, he can even be said to be extremely arrogant. Beauties are as common as the clouds around him and back then, he even forced the young miss of a major power to become his concubine. Qin Wendian casually smiled. Evidently, after he came to the Lifelong Realm, he already had a certain level of understanding of the various powers and governors of the Lifelong Realm. Among the 36 governors, the news about Governor Xiao Yu gave him a deeper impression. This was a genius from the Sword Spirit sect. The Sword Spirit sect did their best to nurture him and pushed him up to the position of a governor. Clearly, the Sword Spirit sect's purpose wouldn't stop there. They wanted to nurture a world palace lord of one of the 9 world palaces and this was completely possible. All the major powers in the Lifelong Realm had done this before and there were many who succeeded in doing so. Governor Xiao is a peak-level genius, even the Realm Lord has paid attention to him before. It's only normal for beauties to be as common as the clouds around him. In fact, the various peak powers are even willing to send the young misses of their clans to the governor's manor, even willing to be his concubine. If they were ordinary beauties, Governor Xiao wouldn't even be interested in them. As for that matter in the past, Governor Xiao took the initiative to pursue her. Although there were some conflicts, the other party eventually agreed to it. There's nothing wrong with that. The old man laughed. Seems like old man really admires Governor Xiao. Qin Wendian didn't say anything more and smiled. Naturally. Before Governor Xiao took over, he challenged the 36 governors and only lost 3 times. At that time, Governor Xiao had just broken through to the peak stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. Such a glorious battle record caused a huge commotion back then, shaking Lifelong City. You must know that among the 36 governors in Lifelong City, which one of them isn't a peak stage Immortal Emperor with peak-level combat prowess? The old man sincerely praised. An existence like Governor Xiao, I wonder when would he appear again? Right now, among the 9 governors of the northern regions, Governor Xiao is the number 1. Qin Wendian smiled and nodded, he's truly extraordinary. After speaking, Qin Wendian turned and left. The old man stared at Qin Wendian's back view and laughed, young man, don't be unconvinced. Maybe you feel that you are outstanding but given how vast Lifelong City is, how many people like Governor Xiao are there? I'll remember old sir's words. Qin Wendian laughed. Several days later, a huge commotion occurred in the 9 city regions of Lifelong City. 3 governors were challenged by the same person and all of them were defeated. This person was clad in white and was extremely handsome. What was even more terrifying was that his cultivation base was only at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. When he challenged the first governor, the governor didn't even bother to look at him and sent his vice-governor to fight him. However, the vice-governor was defeated miserably and was insta-defeated with a single move. After that, the second governor challenged him and was defeated by his opponent with absolute superiority. This news caused a huge commotion. After that, that mysterious expert continued to challenge the other 2 governors, and without any suspense, he easily defeated both of them. For a period of time, a huge wave of commotion arose in the northern regions. There were so many immortal emperors in Lifelong City. Although peak-stage immortal emperors were powerful, they weren't that rare. And for those who could become governors, they were all existences with extremely high combat prowess. Yet, 3 governors were actually defeated by a single person. Not only that, this person was also a mid-stage immortal emperor. Such news was given that the lifelong banquet was about to commence. How could this not cause a huge commotion? Many people guessed that the reason why such a powerful and mysterious character suddenly appeared was because he wanted to become famous. And the purpose of this person's fame was very simple. He wanted to attract the attention of the Realm Lord and the lifelong Saint Hall. If he could gain their favor, he would surely soar up to the clouds. Just when everyone was immersed in this news, a challenge letter was sent to the governor's manor of the first governor of the northern regions, Xiao Yu's manor. When this news circulated out, the entire northern regions were shaken. Only now did they understand that the true target of this mysterious challenger wasn't the three governors. His target was Xiao Yu. A peak-level genius of the sword spirit sect, Xiao Yu. Back then, he was the same as this mysterious person. He relied on challenges to climb up, gaining the attention of the lifelong Saint Hall, and became a governor. Right now, there was someone who consecutively defeated the three governors and even challenged Xiao Yu. His purpose was obvious. For a period of time, the entire northern regions were shaken. Today, outside the governor's manor Xiao Yu was in, many people gathered. They were all here to spectate this mysterious challenger's challenge. The gates of the governor's manor were wide open. Many people could see Xiao Yu sitting inside, hugging beauties on his left and right. All of them were peak-grade beauties that exuded a demonic aura, exuding a faint aura of nobility. These were all women of extraordinary birth and were taken as concubines by Xiao Yu. Now that they were beautiful and elegant, many people silently mused that Xiao Yu truly knew how to enjoy life, nurturing his concubines to become so outstanding. And even now, Xiao Yu still didn't have a wife. He only took concubines. From his point of view, it was still too early for him to reach the pinnacle. In the future, his wife would surely be a peerless beauty. This Xiao Yu is truly confident. The people outside couldn't help but to sigh when they saw how much Xiao Yu was enjoying himself. Seems like Xiao Yu is filled with confidence. However, given his strength, although the challenger is mysterious, it would still be hard for him to win against Xiao Yu. The crowd discussed. At this moment, a white-robed figure flew over from afar. This person soared through the air with his hands behind his back, exuding an extremely carefree aura. His countenance was handsome and his entire being radiated an extraordinary aura. Compared to the supreme genius of the sword spirit sect, Xiao Yu, his aura wasn't in any way inferior at all. Chapter 1611. He's here. The gazes of many turned to Qin Wentian, who was flying through the air, involuntarily comparing him to Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu, a well-known character of the younger generation of the sword spirit sect. Many of the elders were already surpassed by him. Right now in the entire sword spirit sect, there weren't many who could win against him. He had a pair of sword-like brows and his eyes were filled with spirit. His countenance exuded a devilish charm. Although he knew that Qin Wentian had arrived, he didn't lift his head. He continued drinking wine and chatting with the two beauties beside him, as though he didn't care about this challenge at all. As for this mysterious challenger, up until now, no one knew his name or which power he came from. It was as though he was a supreme genius who appeared out of nowhere in Lifelong City, wanting to use Xiao Yu to rise to fame. In reality, things were just as they guessed. Qin Wentian did indeed want to use Xiao Yu to rise to fame. He looked at the records of the 36 governors of Lifelong City and knew that this Xiao Yu was a genius nurtured by the Sword Spirit sect. In addition, he didn't let down the expectations of the Sword Spirit sect. This man was extremely arrogant and had a high opinion of himself. Also, he was extremely lustful and had many concubines. He already had over 10 beauties and all of them were daughters of major powers in Lifelong City. Ordinary women weren't even worthy to be his concubines. These were clearly his flaws. It was just that these flaws were masked by his radiance, becoming the topic of discussion instead. Under the radiance of the Sword Spirit sect and the youngest governor of Lifelong City, being arrogant and having so many beauties around him seemed to be an extremely normal thing. No one cared about this. This point could be seen from the conversation between the old man and Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian walked forward step by step, staring at Xiao Yu who was inside. His aura gushed forth, the intent of a challenge was self-evident. From the crowd far away, an old man stared at Qin Wentian in astonishment. He walked out and spoke, "It's really you." Qin Wentian turned his gaze over and smiled at the old man. So it turned out that this old man was none other than the immortal emperor he met back then. "Nice to meet you, sir," Qin Wentian said with a smile. The old man's eyes flashed as he stared at Qin Wentian. "Little fellow, although your talent is outstanding, and the fact that you were able to defeat 3 great commanders in a row shows your strength, you must not do something you cannot do just because you want to be famous. If you give up now and apologize to Commander Shao, perhaps Commander Shao will let you go." Challenging a commander wasn't a fun thing to do. A commander was the most powerful person in a region. How could they be challenged just because they wanted to? If you dared to challenge a commander's prestige, it was fine if you won. But if you lost, even if you were killed on the spot, no one would dare to say anything. You were the one who came to challenge them, so of course you had to pay the price. If not, wouldn't everyone dare to challenge you in the future? Such matters had happened many times in the history of the world of immortals. The challengers would obtain fame after defeating the commanders, but they didn't dare to do anything to the commanders. However, if they were defeated, the best outcome would be severe injuries. Getting their cultivation crippled or even being killed was an extremely common thing. "Many thanks, old sir, but I still wish to give it a try." Qin Wentian nodded and smiled at the old man. The old man glanced at Qin Wentian and sighed, "Why must you do this? You are all geniuses, stepping into the immortal emperor realm at such a young age. Is fame really so important to you guys?" Qin Wentian smiled and didn't say anything. Fame? What he needed the most now was fame. Fame in Lifelong City. The Lifeire Empyrean intentionally didn't bring him here. In that case, he could only come here himself. If not, he would forever be in a passive state, being toyed with by the Lifeire Empyrean. There are many people who want to use me to gain fame. You are not the first. As to why I'm sitting here to meet you, it's purely because you defeated a few governors. Hence, I'm willing to meet you. Xiao Yu inclined his head, staring at Qin Wentian through the air. His voice was filled with arrogance and coldness. "Now, I'll give you 2 choices. The first choice, because you provoked the governor's manor, you have to kowtow 3 times to the governor's manor. I'll pretend that nothing has happened and you can leave." "What about the second choice?" Qin Wentian asked. "You will die." Xiao Yu calmly spoke, his tone filled with an unquestionable tone. "Truly as arrogant as the rumors say." A smile appeared on Qin Wentian's face. "Maybe, there's a third choice. You will lose." Xiao Yu, who was sitting there, had a mocking smile on his face. He would lose. A mid-stage immortal emperor challenging a peak-stage immortal emperor like him who had unparalleled combat prowess? This sounded like an extremely ridiculous joke. Most probably, the spectators were all waiting to see this joke. Only to see Xiao Yu hugging his concubine as he stood up. After that, his body slowly floated up into the air. The 2 concubines beside him also floated up. Also, these 2 beauties were actually at the Immortal Emperor realm. Although the Immortal Emperor realm wasn't considered high in Lifelong City, just these 2 concubines of Xiao Yu were already extremely shocking. The third choice. You want to use the method I used when I became famous to borrow my fame? The mocking smile on Xiao Yu's face was extremely demonic. To me, it's the path to fame. But to you, it's the path of seeking death. As the sound of his voice faded, he released the 2 concubines and stepped out. Killing you is as easy as lifting a hand. Governor Xiao, please guide me. Qin Wentian stood with his hands clasped behind his back as he calmly stared at Xiao Yu. A faint smile could be seen on his face, exuding a sense of lightness in his heart. The current him made people not dare to underestimate him. Judging from his demeanor, he should be from an extraordinary power. If not, he wouldn't have dared to stand here. However, the person he was facing was none other than Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu's aura suddenly changed. In just an instant, the pressure in the air intensified to the extreme, causing people to feel a sense of suffocation. It was as though the entire sky and earth was changing according to his aura. Such an ability was too terrifying. He didn't even move, but the pressure in the air had already turned incomparably heavy and sharp. His eyes abruptly trembled. In just an instant, two terrifying bolts of lightning appeared in the air, shooting towards Qin Wentian's eyes, aiming for Qin Wentian's soul. At this moment, Qin Wentian only felt as though a series of terrifying spatial swords had appeared in his soul, frenziedly shuttling about. His soul felt as though it was in the middle of a raging sea, akin to a lone boat, enduring the onslaught of the raging storm. Xiao Yu's eyes, his silhouette, were all imprinted into Qin Wentian's soul. There were very few people who were proficient in soul attacks, and those with such a powerful soul attack were even rarer. If it was an ordinary immortal emperor, their soul would have been instantly destroyed, dying in Xiao Yu's hands. However, Qin Wentian was also proficient in soul energy. In an instant, his soul boat seemed to have disintegrated, turning invisible and omnipresent. Even when that storm of swords frenziedly attacked, wanting to destroy everything, it still couldn't destroy Qin Wentian's soul. Qin Wentian's eyes also changed. His eyes became extremely demonic, as though they were revolving, containing an entire world within. In an instant, Xiao Yu felt himself falling into a dimension created by an eye technique. A corporeal sword of light shot through the air, piercing into his body. At the same time, a terrifying soul sword slammed into him. This gaze didn't merely contain a soul attack, it also contained an attack against the physical body. With a single glance, Qin Wentian's dual attacks arrived. Xiao Yu's sword-like brows twitched as a strange light flashed in his eyes. He didn't expect Qin Wentian to be so powerful. Not only was his soul so powerful, he could directly borrow the power of his soul to attack. Qin Wentian coldly laughed as he took a step forward. In an instant, the sky changed color as the boundless sword might directly broke through Qin Wentian's eye technique space. The power of the attack was so powerful that it directly penetrated through it. After that, a supremely powerful domain manifested. This was a supreme sword domain that could destroy the heavens and earth. Numerous ancient figures appeared, as though they were the souls of ancient sages. All of them exuded different types of sword might as they rushed towards Qin Wentian. In just an instant, the space Qin Wentian was in was about to be torn into nothingness, completely destroyed. Qin Wentian's body shimmered with an extremely resplendent spatial energy. It was as though he was in another dimension as a supreme sword domain manifested. Tens of thousands of swords whistled through the air, shooting straight towards the sword spirit Xiao Yu had summoned. For a period of time, this entire space transformed into a boundlessly violent world of swords. A scream of agony rang out, an expert who was closer to Qin Wentian was slashed by the sword intent. One of his arms was directly severed. Everyone had a look of terror on their faces as they frantically retreated. They discovered that the space outside the governor's manor had already transformed into a world of swords, surrounded by boundless tempests. Those who were too close to it would be directly killed. Bzz. Only to see Xiao Yu's silhouette vanishing into thin air, fusing into the body of an ancient sage. That ancient sage's sword spirit directly appeared before Qin Wentian as boundless sword might akin to a raging tempest slashed downwards. The sword of lightning was too terrifying, it was as though the ancient sages had come back to life. Boundless light radiated from Qin Wentian. The sword soul of the ancient sages radiated boundless might as it collided with the sword soul. Boundless light imprinted itself onto the sword's soul, and after that, the sword's soul was destroyed. However, this wasn't the end. On the other side, the sword's soul of the ancient sages appeared. He exuded a supreme might, and with a step out, his sword might grew even stronger. With a few steps, it felt like the entire world would be destroyed. Qin Wentian directly soared through the air, appearing before the ancient sages. A tyrannical fist of light blasted out, colliding head-on with the ancient sages, shattering the sword's soul. However, this didn't end there. More and more sword souls were controlled by Xiao Yu, slaughtering their way over, wanting to kill Qin Wentian no matter what. Qin Wentian's emperor light shone resplendently as boundless astral light cascaded downwards. A divine fist of light blasted out. At this moment, it felt like there were millions of arms blasting out in different directions. The power of each attack was actually the same. Faint sounds of Sanskrit could be heard, akin to the might of a great Buddha. Rumble. The entire space seemed to be on the verge of shattering. All the sword souls were destroyed, causing the hearts of the spectators to tremble. This mysterious man was actually able to fight against Governor Xiao Yu. Chapter 1612. The two of them in the air fought more and more violently. Xiao Yu was able to borrow the power of the sword souls of the ancient sages to fight for him. To many people, this was the first time they saw how powerful Xiao Yu was. Many people couldn't help but to sigh in admiration, as expected of a supreme genius of the sword spirit sect. Generations of sages of the sword spirit sect transformed into sword souls, who could block him? However, what made everyone even more shocked was Qin Wentian's strength. This mysterious expert who defeated 3 governors consecutively, every attack of his would radiate boundless light. His entire person was enveloped by the light, resembling a true divinity. In fact, there were even traces of Buddhic light radiating from him, causing his demeanor to be extremely extraordinary. In addition, the radiant divine fists he unleashed could be dispersed, transforming into a myriad of fist lights. Each fist light was equally powerful, shattering the sword souls of the ancient sages summoned by Xiao Yu. Everyone could sense that Qin Wentian's cultivation base was even lower compared to Xiao Yu. He was only at the mid-stage of the immortal emperor realm, yet he could fight to such an extent. How terrifying was this? This indicated that if he broke through to the peak stage of the immortal emperor realm, there was a very high possibility that Xiao Yu would be defeated by him. This indicated that in terms of combat prowess, his talent was much higher compared to the supreme genius of the sword spirit sect, Xiao Yu. After fighting for so long, he was still unable to defeat Qin Wentian. The light in Xiao Yu's eyes grew more and more terrifying. Both of his eyes shot out soul attacks, but Qin Wentian's eyes were filled with a resplendent light. He had no fear at all. Regardless of soul attacks or techniques, he had no way to defeat his opponent. This caused Xiao Yu to feel a sense of humiliation. A mid-stage immortal emperor actually fought to such an extent, how would everyone view him? When he thought of this, his killing intent grew even stronger. In the starry space, boundless astral light cascaded downwards as numerous sword souls descended from the heavens, directly entering his body. At this instant, Xiao Yu's entire being grew even more terrifying. His spirit and will were undergoing a transformation as the sword souls entered his body. His eyes gleamed with multiple rays of light, and the might exuding from his body actually skyrocketed, becoming much stronger. The heavens and earth were suffocating as his sword intent wanted to tear apart the heavens. Puchi-puchi sounds rang out unceasingly as screams of misery rang out. The spectators from afar were all filled with terror as they hurriedly retreated. At the same time, they unleashed their own energy to defend against the occasional strands of sword intent that permeated the battlefield. Just a strand of sword intent was enough to tear people apart. There were already several people whose arms were torn off or their bodies were pierced through, looking extremely miserable. Also, this was because they were spectating the battle, it wasn't intentionally done by either side. One could only say that Xiao Yu was no longer able to perfectly control his power, causing it to leak out. As Xiao Yu stepped out, his entire person transformed into a shadow. At this instant, Qin Wentian seemed to have fallen into a domain of sword souls, a world of sword souls. The entire world seemed illusory, and when Xiao Yu stepped out, his body seemed to have transformed into that of an ancient sage. A pair of gigantic faces appeared before Qin Wentian's eyes as boundless spatial light transformed into a formless killing intent that directly penetrated into Qin Wentian's body. Qin Wentian had no way to defend against this attack, it was simply too tyrannical. Qin Wentian inclined his head and saw Xiao Yu, who had transformed into an ancient sage. His entire body seemed to be coated in a layer of golden Buddhic light. His Buddha physique contained the Vajra holy will, in addition to the undying devil attribute of his body, he could be said to be indestructible and indestructible. Despite the terrifying sword intent piercing through his body, his eyes were still as sharp as ever. Lifting his palms, a gigantic palm imprint imbued with the power of light blasted forth, directly slamming down towards Xiao Yu's gigantic body. However, at this moment, Xiao Yu's body seemed to have transformed into an illusory form. That extremely powerful palm imprint of light merely passed through his body, unable to hit him at all. This scene caused Qin Wentian's countenance to freeze. No matter how powerful an attack was, what use was it if it couldn't hit the opponent? So this is Governor Xiao Yu's illusory body. It's too powerful. Although this mysterious expert is already terrifying enough, it's still impossible for him to defeat Xiao Yu. Although the spectators were in danger, none of them were willing to leave. Before this, they still thought that this would be a one-sided battle and that the mysterious expert who challenged Xiao Yu wouldn't be a match for him. But now, they were able to witness a battle between two supremely powerful immortal emperors. This trip was truly worthwhile. How can you defeat me? A tyrannical voice rang out from Xiao Yu's mouth. He stretched out his finger and blasted it towards Qin Wentian. Terrifying sword chi rivers manifested in this space, gushing forth, wanting to tear this entire space apart. When the sword chi river blasted into Qin Wentian's body, Qin Wentian's golden body crumbled unceasingly, unable to endure any longer. Qin Wentian's powerful life force aura gushed forth as an ancient tree of life enveloped him, allowing Xiao Yu's attack to penetrate him. The spectators only saw Qin Wentian radiating light, as though he was also an undying existence. How can you kill me? The light radiating from Qin Wentian was as bright as ever, illuminating the heavens and earth, transforming into boundless sword chi that shot towards Xiao Yu. There's nothing that is truly undying. As long as you are a human, you will die. Xiao Yu's voice was as tyrannical as ever. He walked towards Qin Wentian step by step, and with every step he took, the killing intent from the void grew stronger, wanting to shatter Qin Wentian's body, killing him completely. Even if Qin Wentian had an undying body, he could still kill him. Qin Wentian's white robes fluttered violently, emitting terrifying whistling sounds. Facing against Xiao Yu's tyrannical attack, not only did his aura not weaken, it grew even stronger instead. The light radiating from his body grew more and more resplendent. Finally, Xiao Yu's silhouette appeared before him as he stabbed out a finger towards the center of Qin Wentian's brows. At this instant, it was as though there were countless sword souls radiating from Xiao Yu's finger, capable of annihilating all existences. Nobody would be able to block such an attack. Rumble! A terrifying sonic boom rang out as Xiao Yu's attack pierced into the center of Qin Wentian's brows. The hearts of the spectators trembled. This time around, Qin Wentian would die for sure. No matter how powerful his undying body was, he wouldn't be able to block such a tyrannical attack. Only death awaited him. You are right, there's no such thing as an undying body. But if you want to see, even if you have an incorporeal body, you will still be annihilated. Qin Wentian's will transformed into a voice that reverberated through the heavens and earth. Qin Wentian grabbed out in the air as the supremely powerful god's hand transformed into a terrifying spatial vortex, enveloping Xiao Yu within it. Xiao Yu's body was about to dissipate into nothingness, yet Qin Wentian didn't attack him. He only focused his attacks on the spatial vortex in front of him, wanting to tear this entire space apart. In this space, even if you were in an incorporeal body, you would still be annihilated. The spatial vortex transformed into a tempest of destruction, unceasingly penetrating Xiao Yu's body. His body that resembled a sage from the past was trembling violently. Both his palms blasted out explosively as his eyes gleamed with a boundless killing intent, wanting to annihilate Qin Wentian. Boom! The spatial tempest grew even stronger. Tyrannical light energy, devil energy, spatial energy and sword energy, wanting to annihilate all existences. Arg! A miserable scream rang out. Xiao Yu's body gradually turned corporeal as his entire body trembled unceasingly. It was like he was enduring an incomparably terrifying might and his body was about to be torn apart. Governor Xiao, you have lost. Qin Wentian spat out. With an abrupt wave of his palms, Xiao Yu's body was directly flung through the air, akin to a kite with its string cut. Pucci, fresh blood spurted out from his mouth as the sage mandate dissipated. The aura radiating from Xiao Yu was no longer there, replaced with an incomparably dispirited and dispirited aura. When Xiao Yu's body slammed into the ground, everyone was still immersed in the battle earlier. Their eyes were all in a daze. Defeated. A supreme genius of the Sword Spirit sect, the youngest governor of Lifelong City, was defeated. He was defeated by this mysterious and handsome young man who was only at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. Right now, Xiao Yu was already one of the top 3 among the 36 governors of Lifelong City. Yet, he actually lost to a young man at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. Before this was simply unimaginable. However, the truth was right before their eyes. Xiao Yu was utterly defeated. Xiao Yu's 2 beautiful concubines flashed and appeared beside Xiao Yu, stretching their hands out to help him up. However, Xiao Yu merely flung their hands away as he growled, "Scram." At this moment, all of Xiao Yu's pride seemed to have been shattered by this battle. The 2 beautiful concubines turned pale, they understood what this battle meant to Xiao Yu. As a supreme genius nurtured by the Sword Spirit sect, Xiao Yu had never experienced such a great defeat before. All the glory he had, all his fame, all his pride, all of it was reduced to ashes in this battle. This point could be seen from the eyes of the spectators. The number 1 governor of the northern city regions, Xiao Yu, fell from his pedestal in a single battle and fell so miserably. When everyone looked at Qin Wendian again, the gazes in their eyes were all different. Before this, they all thought that Qin Wendian was a young genius who didn't know the immensity of death and wanted to become famous. But now, they knew that although he was a genius who wanted to become famous, he wasn't someone who didn't know the immensity of death. He was a supreme genius who could create a storm in Lifelong City. The old man from before felt his heart pounding madly. He stared at everything in a dumbfounded manner, unable to calm his heart for a long time. He actually won, defeated Xiao Yu. His eyes had no way to shift away from Qin Wendian. After that, he saw Qin Wendian directly turning and leaving, not even leaving his name behind. He was as mysterious as ever, coming and going like the wind. Nobody knew who he was or where he came from. The northern city regions were shaken, Lifelong City was shaken, the Sword Spirit sect was shaken, all because of a single battle. The youngest governor of Lifelong City, a supreme genius of the Sword Spirit sect, Governor Xiao Yu, was defeated by a mysterious mid-stage Immortal Emperor young man. This mysterious young man fought against 4 governors consecutively and won consecutively. Many governors in the immortal realms were all trembling in fear, worried that this mysterious young man would suddenly appear before them before the grand banquet, challenging them and causing their reputation to fall to the ground. But that mysterious young man actually vanished without a trace. Even until the day of the grand banquet, he didn't appear again. He didn't challenge the other governors, but countless people were hoping that he would appear again. They wanted to know who he was exactly and where he came from. Chapter 1613. Lifelong City grew more and more lively. As the date of the grand banquet approached, the commotion caused by Qin Wendian's domineering defeat of Xiao Yu gradually faded away. More and more people started to discuss about the grand banquet, wondering which characters would stand out. Naturally, there were also many people who guessed that the mysterious expert who defeated Xiao Yu would appear during the grand banquet. After all, the reason he challenged Xiao Yu was because he wanted to become famous and attract the attention of the Lifelong Saint Hall. In fact, he wanted the Realm Lord to pay attention to him. Xiao Yu was a genius that the Realm Lord had paid attention to before. How glorious was that? But now that he was defeated, the Realm Lord might have heard of this matter. The date of the grand banquet finally arrived. In the Jialan clan, at the location where the experts from Jialan Yintian's faction were gathered, Jialan Yintian was somewhat taken aback when he saw the masked young man before him. Grandmaster D, why did you come from Lifire City? A few days ago, I encountered an urgent matter and rushed back to Lifire City. However, the consumption of my energy was too great and I could only make a trip to the Jialan clan. am filled with gratitude for troubling the Jalan clan to send me here. Di Tian smiled. How would Jalan Yuntian know that the two people who appeared were his true self and his avatar? If he really wanted to fuss, the person in front of him right now was the real Di Tian. When did you become so polite? Back then, a certain someone was extremely dishonest. Jalan Chuyue, who was beside Jalan Yuntian, had a bright smile in her eyes as she stared at Qin Wentian. An awkward look flashed through Di Tian's eyes. Back then, when his true self teased Jalan Chuyue, the effects were clear to see. Right now, Jalan Chuyue no longer had any wariness in her heart towards him. Most probably, she had already treated him as one of her own. Fairy Chuyue, I truly couldn't stand those people back then. That's why I offended them. Please don't bear a grudge against me. Di Tian laughed. That would depend on Grandmaster Di's performance in the future. Jalan Chuyue smiled. She, who was usually dignified and noble, actually had a smile on her face right now, exuding a sense of charm. Her beautiful eyes stared at Di Tian, silently musing that this fellow actually told her not to hold a grudge against him. Back then, Di Tian was truly audacious. Jalan Yuntian, who was at the side, had a deep smile on his face when he heard the conversation between the two of them. He regarded Di Tian very highly as well. This genius weaponsmith was extraordinary, and although he managed to gain Di Tian's friendship, it wasn't that solid after all. Once there was a special situation, it would easily break apart. But if Di Tian was together with Jalan Chuyue, the situation would be different. The most important thing was that Jalan Chuyue seemed to have a favorable impression of Di Tian. In addition to Di Tian's talent in weaponsmithing as well as the tip of the iceberg he displayed when facing the attacks from the Sword Spirit sect, Jalan Yuntian felt that Di Tian was extraordinary. If they could really be together, Jalan Yuntian would definitely support it. Let's go, Grandmaster Di is also here for this banquet. Let's move out. Jalan Yuntian spoke. Grandpa, are we heading there by ourselves? Jalan Chuyue asked. Let's meet up with your second grandpa and head there together. Although there are some conflicts between us, the Jalan clan is united as one to the outside world. There mustn't be any divisions. If not, given how many peak powers there are in Lifelong City, how can our Jalan clan continue to grow? If your second grandpa really reaches a certain height, even if he wants my position as the clan leader, I have no qualms about giving it to him. Jalan Yuntian spoke, his words filled with resolution. Jalan Chuyue wanted to say something, but she didn't say anything. She only nodded her head lightly. Jalan Yuntian gathered everyone and met up with Jalan Yunhai and the others. Upon seeing Di Tian's appearance, Jalan Skywolf's expression instantly turned extremely unsightly. Back then, he kept mocking Qin Wentian, wanting to use him to make things difficult for Jalan Yuntian and the others. But after that, Qin Wentian took out an emperor-ranked weapon and stunned the people from the Xianyuan clan, causing them to be extremely polite to him. After that, the soul attacks of the experts from the Sword Spirit sect couldn't do anything to Qin Wentian and even suffered a backlash. Grandmaster Di. Jalan Yunhai saw Di Tian appearing. He walked over and nodded to him. This junior has offended you in the past. I hope Grandmaster Di can forgive me. As he spoke, he turned his gaze to Jalan Skywolf. Come over and apologize to Grandmaster Di. Jalan Skywolf's countenance instantly turned pale. He stared at his grandfather, and upon seeing the stern look in Jalan Yunhai's eyes, he walked towards Di Tian and spoke, Grandmaster Di, I hope Grandmaster Di can forgive me if I offended you in the past. Di Tian's expression was calm when he saw the expressions of the two of them. This Jalan Yunhai was truly not an ordinary character. He glanced at Jalan Skywolf as he calmly spoke, don't worry about it. It's just that the Jalan clan is an Empyrean power and I, Di, have always respected them. But after what I saw back then, I was truly disappointed. Although the Jalan clan is extraordinary, there are too many major powers in Lifelong City. For the sake of the Jalan clan's strength, there are some things I have no choice but to do. I've let Grandmaster Di see a joke. Jalan Yunhai smiled at Di Tian. If I knew that Chuyue is such a good match, I wouldn't have acted so smart. Although Jalan Chuyue didn't have any favorable impression of Jalan Yunhai, she couldn't help but blush when she heard this. Clearly, the incident back then caused Jalan Yunhai and the others to misunderstand. Jalan Yuntian and the others didn't explain anything, hence Jalan Yunhai said this. She stealthily glanced at Di Tian, her beautiful eyes were filled with shyness. When Di Tian saw this scene, how could he not understand that he was misunderstood? Since Jalan Yuntian and the others didn't explain anything, he didn't say anything either. He only smiled and nodded. Big brother, let's move out. Jalan Yunhai spoke to Jalan Yuntian. The experts of the Jalan clan gathered together and soared into the air, flying towards the direction of the lifelong Saint Hall. In the air, more and more experts soared into the air. Many of them were flying towards the center of Lifelong City, in the direction of the Lifelong Saint Hall. As expected of the golden age of the Lifelong Realm. This time around, I wonder how many heroes would appear. As they neared the Lifelong Saint Hall, more and more experts appeared. There were even some young immortal emperors who were extremely transcendent, extremely terrifying. Yeah, the Lifelong Realm is boundlessly vast, geniuses are as common as the clouds. Let's talk about the #1 governor of our northern city regions, Xiao Yu. He is an extraordinary character, a supreme genius. Back then, he was singled out by the Realm Lord, but just a few days ago, he was defeated by a mysterious mid-stage immortal emperor, causing a huge commotion in the northern city regions. Most probably, this person is also here for the grand banquet this time around. Jalan Yunhai spoke. Although I don't know who that person is, he is definitely a genius of his generation. Chuyue, his cultivation base is the same as yours. You still have to work hard. Jalan Yuntian spoke to Jalan Chuyue, his gaze filled with anticipation. Although Jalan Chuyue's talent was very good, there was still a gap between her and Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu was a famous character in Lifelong City, but even someone like him was defeated by someone who jumped levels to jump levels. From this, one could very well imagine how many geniuses there were in the Lifelong Realm. Jalan Chuyue seriously nodded her head. She had also heard of that battle. The person who defeated Xiao Yu was rumored to be a godlike existence. She glanced at Di Tian beside her and smiled. Di Tian, that mysterious person also has the same cultivation base as you and is rumored to be extraordinarily handsome. What do you think of him? Di Tian didn't know how to reply. Should he praise him or belittle him? Jalan Chuyue thought that Di Tian was embarrassed and didn't know how to reply. She couldn't help but to smile lightly. The Lifelong Saint Hall, the place where the Lifelong Realm Lord governed. It was a majestic city that stood high up in the sky. Outside the Lifelong Saint Hall, there was a flight of stairs that was 10,000 meters tall. There was a statue of the Lifelong Realm Lord carved on it, and countless people would come here frequently, bowing to the statue as though it was a divinity. As the overlord of a world, the Lifelong Realm Lord had supreme authority in the Lifelong Realm. He had invincible strength and was the target of respect for countless people. In this world that revered the martial path, the Lifelong Realm Lord was the god of this world. Today, at the foot of the flight of stairs leading up to the Lifelong Saint Hall, countless people gathered. No one stood in the air, everyone who came here had to descend from the air and walk. They could only stare up at the Lifelong Saint Hall, no one dared to look down on this majestic city. That would be a form of disrespect to the Lifelong Realm Lord. Outside the Lifelong Saint Hall, there were 10 towering platforms constructed. Each of them was 90,000 meters tall, and there were thrones at the peak, exuding incomparable nobility. These were the places where the World Palace Lords would sit when they came to pay their respects to the Lifelong Saint Hall. These towering platforms were the thrones of the World Palace Lords, displaying the lofty status of the 9 world palaces. In the central area, there was also an independent towering platform that was extremely vast. The platform could easily accommodate tens of thousands of people, resembling a gigantic training ground. It was unknown how many people were gathered below the towering platforms. All of them had fanatical looks in their eyes as they stared ahead. Today, they would have the chance to personally witness the peak characters of the lifelong realm. Those supreme characters who could dominate an entire region were all gathered here. The people of the Jalan clan also arrived. Standing below, Jalan Chuyue's beautiful eyes flashed with a strange light. She spoke in a low voice. Were these towering platforms constructed on a temporary basis? Naturally, they wouldn't exist normally and would only be constructed once every 100 years. However, to Empyreans, this isn't difficult at all. Jalan Yuntian spoke. Di Tian's eyes flashed as he silently mused at how extravagant this was. However, Jalan Yuntian's words were also right. There were some people who were proficient in special attributes and could easily construct these towering platforms. Clearly, the lifelong Saint Hall didn't lack such characters. The people from the Xianyuan clan have arrived. Jalan Yunhai spoke. In a certain direction, many experts from the Xianyuan clan were gathered together, clustered around a single person. Xianyuan Hao, who Qin Wendian met before in the Jalan clan, was also in the crowd. However, he wasn't conspicuous and was merely a character beside him. The person being clustered around was none other than the Xianyuan Empyrean, one of the 9 World Palace Lords. When he arrived, his gaze swept through the crowd as a look of disdain could be seen in his eyes. After that, he turned his gaze to the statue of the lifelong Realm Lord and bowed. Although he was a World Palace Lord, his actions were filled with incomparable sincerity, like he was paying respect to a god. Although the difference between a World Palace Lord and a Realm Lord was only a single step, only characters like them could understand how vast the disparity was. Chapter 1614. Beside the Xianyuan Palace Lord of the Xianyuan clan, other than many experts from the Xianyuan clan, there were also many leaders of the major powers in the Xianyuan Palace. They came together with the Xianyuan Palace Lord, and when they saw the Xianyuan Palace Lord bowing to the statue of the lifelong Realm Lord, they all bowed in the direction of the statue as well. Everyone's eyes were filled with sincerity. At the very least, this was so on the surface. At this moment, a person walked down step by step. This person actually walked down from the top of the staircase. He had his head held high and his chest puffed out, exuding a lofty aura, extremely outstanding. He had the appearance of a young man and his hands were clasped behind his back, exuding a calm and composed aura. Facing the crowd, a look of arrogance could be seen on his face as he walked down the staircase. Sky Air Palace Lord. Beside Di Tian, Jalan Yunhai spoke. This person is the personal disciple of the lifelong Realm Lord and is extremely outstanding. The lifelong Realm Lord dotes on him and arranged for him to be one of the 9 World Palace Lords. Di Tian nodded silently. No wonder this person exuded such a lofty aura when he walked down the staircase. After the Sky Air Palace Lord came down, many experts immediately rushed over. Clearly, these people were from his Sky Air Palace as well as the major powers in his territory. All of them were extremely proud, as though they felt honored. Their Sky Air Palace Lord was the personal disciple of the lifelong Realm Lord and was doted on by many. Morning Xianyuan. The Sky Air Palace Lord nodded to the Xianyuan Palace Lord. You are early as well. The Xianyuan Palace Lord smiled and returned the greeting. From afar, the sound of whistling wind rang out. A group of people flew over like a gust of wind. Many people hurriedly gave way and after that, they saw 2 groups of experts walking over together. Although the 2 people in the lead had different appearances, their auras were somewhat similar. Both of them radiated an intense battle intent, like they were born battle maniacs. Gemini Palace Lord. Jalan Yunhai spoke. The position of the Gemini Palace Lord has always been held by 2 people at the same time. It's rumored that the Gemini Palace Lord is the personal disciple of that person. I wonder if this is true. Jalan Yuntian spoke in a low voice. According to Father's understanding, it's true. Jalan Yunhai replied. Di Tian's eyes flashed. Who was that person? As though he could see the puzzlement on Di Tian's face, Jalan Yunhai continued, in the lifelong realm, there's still another world overlord level existence. Although he doesn't like to establish his own power and roams the world, there's no need to doubt his tyrannical strength. It's said that he is a good friend of the Realm Lord, but as for the exact relationship between him and the Realm Lord, outsiders have no idea. However, it's rumored that 2 of his disciples were arranged by the Realm Lord to become the Gemini World Palace Lords. Di Tian nodded lightly. Another world overlord existence. The Dragon Saddle Palace Lord has arrived. Another group of people with extraordinary temperaments descended. They rode on demonic dragons, causing the ground to tremble. The crowd made way for them. The people from the Saddle Dragon Palace walked into the crowd. The leader of the group was an extremely dignified Saddle Dragon Palace Lord clad in armor. He glanced at the other palace lords and nodded to them. The Saddle Dragon Palace is the same as the Xianyuan Palace. It was also established by the Realm Lord when he ruled the lifelong realm. The first Palace Lord was someone who followed the Realm Lord into battle. The current Saddle Dragon Palace Lord is his descendant. Every time a new Palace Lord appeared, Jalan Yunhai would introduce them. Although he was casually speaking, it felt like he was intentionally introducing them to Di Tian. There's another world palace, the Scarlet Origin Palace. The first palace lords of these 3 world palaces are all old men beside the Realm Lord. But right now, the Xianyuan Palace and Saddle Dragon Palace Lords are still descendants of the first palace lords. However, the Scarlet Origin Palace is no longer the case. Back then, one of the Scarlet Origin Palace Lords made a mistake and was too arrogant, causing the Realm Lord to be enraged. The Realm Lord directly gave the order to cripple them and didn't kill them on account of their old friendship. Instead, they were exiled and the name of the Scarlet Origin Palace was retained. If not, there might be no Scarlet Origin Palace among the 9 world palaces. Jalan Yunhai continued. As he spoke, his gaze turned to a group of people in the distance. Speaking of the Scarlet Origin Palace, they are here. Your Lifeire Empyrean has arrived as well. Jalan Yunhai laughed. Di Tian turned his gaze in another direction and saw the Lifeire Empyrean leading a group of experts over. Behind the Lifeire Empyrean, there was Grand Governor Zhuge Xiong, the 3 governors of Lifeire City, Xia Ho, Beauty Xiao, Yin Qiu, Protector Chen, and the other Protector Elders. Other than them, the Jialan Monarch and the other 8 monarchs were all here as well. Only Qin Wentian was absent. This Lifeire Empyrean was clearly guarding against Qin Wentian. This was especially so now that Yi Qianyu was suddenly transferred away. He wouldn't allow Qin Wentian to have a chance to shine and appear in the vision of the Realm Lord. After all, he was very clear about Qin Wentian's talent. If it wasn't for Qin Wentian's capabilities, he wouldn't have placed him in the Northern Governor's position to restrict the Jialan clan. The foundations of the Lifeire Palace can be considered one of the weakest among the 9 world palaces. There's also the Kungbutter Palace and Zhengmetal Palace. These 3 palaces are located in the same direction and are neighbors. Out of the 9 world palaces, their foundations are slightly weaker. The Xianyuan Palace, Dragon Saddle Palace, and Scarlet Origin Palace all have their initial palace lords who have followed the Realm Lord for a long time. As for the remaining 3 world palaces, the Gemini Palace has a character on the same level as the Realm Lord as their support. The Skyair Palace has a disciple of the Realm Lord. As for the last world palace, the Desolate Heaven Palace is said to be the strongest among the 9 world palaces. Di Tian silently nodded, memorizing the names of the 9 world palaces in his heart. As time flowed by, this region grew more and more lively. The World Palace Lords of the 9 world palaces all arrived. The Desolate Heaven Palace Lord came as well. The Desolate Heaven Palace Lord was extremely imposing, exuding a disdainful aura as he stood there. The other 8 World Palace Lords, including the personal disciple of the Realm Lord, the Skyair Palace Lord, were all extremely polite to him. From this, one could see how powerful the Desolate Heaven Palace Lord was. Does the Desolate Heaven Palace Lord have no background? Di Tian curiously asked. It's precisely because he has no background that he relied on himself to climb to the peak step by step. This is why he is so terrifying. The Realm Lord regards him highly and once wanted to accept him as a disciple. However, the desolate Heaven Palace Lord said that although he respects the Realm Lord, the cultivation paths of the two of them are different. He has his own path to walk and will naturally forge his own path to the World Overlord realm. Jalan Yunhai spoke. This means that he rejected the Realm Lord? Is he not afraid that the Realm Lord would be unhappy? Di Tian mused in a low voice. This desolate Heaven Palace Lord was truly tyrannical enough. Although the lifelong Realm Lord's cultivation path wasn't suitable for him, his status as the Realm Lord's disciple was already extremely outstanding. It wouldn't be bad for him to occasionally give pointers. Yet, he actually rejected the Realm Lord? The Realm Lord controls boundless territories, how can he be so narrow-minded? The desolate Heaven Palace Lord is someone he admires a lot and is also his subordinate. Even if he doesn't want to be his disciple, it doesn't matter. When he heard the desolate Heaven Palace Lord's words, he merely laughed it off. Di Tian nodded lightly. The 9 World Palace Lords led their people to the 9 towering platforms and waited silently. Finally, in the direction of the lifelong Saint Hall, more and more people walked over. 2 maidens appeared at the front. Not only were their cultivation bases powerful, their beauty was also breathtaking. How beautiful! Jalan Chuyue, who was beside Di Tian, involuntarily praised. As a supreme beauty of Lifire City, there was no need to doubt Jalan Chuyue's beauty. But when she saw these 2 maidens, she couldn't help but feel stunned. Their auras were transcendent and they exuded a sense of nobility. The maidens of the Realm Lord. What do you think? Jalan Yuntian laughed. We pay our respects to the 2 fairies. The 9 World Palace Lords bowed. Other than the desolate Heaven Palace Lord who merely nodded his head, the other 8 World Palace Lords all bowed to show their respect. Even the Sky Air Palace Lord did the same. Di Tian felt his heart trembling when he saw this scene. What sort of characters were the World Palace Lords? Their statuses were extremely high and they could look down on everyone, ruling over an entire region. But when facing these 2 maidens, they had no choice but to bow. How glorious was this? Di Tian naturally understood that this wasn't because these 2 maidens had high cultivation bases or because they were beautiful. It was because they were the lifelong Realm Lord's women. Beside him, Jalan Chuyue smiled when she saw Di Tian's expression. What's wrong with you? Di Tian glanced at Jalan Chuyue as his sharp eyes gleamed with a bright light. He smiled. I'm thinking that in the future, my women would also be like the 2 of you, lofty and lofty, being worshipped by the masses. Jalan Chuyue felt her heart trembling when she saw that pair of deep and resplendent eyes. She couldn't help but feel nervous. However, she only saw Di Tian turning his gaze away, no longer looking at her. This caused her to feel a sense of disappointment. Who was this sentence directed at? Would it be her? Jalan Chuyue was actually somewhat distracted. It was very hard to imagine that someone like her would be moved by a single sentence from an outsider. Father has arrived. At this moment, Jalan Yuntian spoke. After that, Jalan Chuyue returned to her senses. She turned her gaze towards the direction of the towering platform only to see that many people from the peak powers of Lifelong City were heading there. However, none of them dared to ascend the towering platform. They could only find their own seats on the flight of stairs. And among them, there was the true soul of the Jalan clan, the strongest expert of the Jalan clan. Let's go over as well. Jalan Yunhai spoke. As a peak power of Lifelong City, they naturally had the qualifications to have a seat on the flight of stairs. As for the other powers that followed the World Palace Lords here, they would also have their own seats on the flight of stairs. As for ordinary people, they could only stare up at everything from below. Di Tian, let's go together. Jalan Yuntian glanced at Di Tian as he asked. Di Tian nodded lightly. Upon seeing this scene, Jalan Yuntian smiled. The Lifire Empyrean was here as well. If Di Tian wanted to go together with them, the meaning behind it was very clear. Many people started to ascend the flight of stairs. All of them were experts from the various powers. The World Palace lords also walked towards their respective towering platforms and sat down on their thrones, exuding an incomparably imposing aura. Di Tian followed the people from the Jialan clan and came to the highest flight of stairs in the lifelong Saint Hall. This flight of stairs was actually parallel to the towering platforms of the 9 world palaces. This was a place where only people from the peak powers could reach. Chapter 16-15. The two brothers, Jialan Yuntian and Jialan Yunhai, walked to an old man and respectfully greeted, "Father. Amicham, please take a seat." This old man was none other than the Jialan clan's overlord, Jialan Jiangshan. He had transcended into sainthood and was a half-step world overlord. He had once fought against the Liefire Empyrean for the position of the Liefire Empyrean. Although he lost, there was no doubt about his strength. In fact, he even had the ability to influence the situation in Lifelong City. He acted to move Yi Qianyu here. From this, one could see that although he didn't manage to seize the position of the Liefire Empyrean, he wasn't willing to give up just like that. Grandpa. Great-grandpa. Many people from the Jialan clan bowed and greeted. Jialan Jiangshan smiled and nodded at them. After that, his gaze turned to Di Tian. "Who are you?" The people here should all be from the Jialan clan, but he didn't recognize Di Tian at all. Hence, he asked this question. "Father, Grandmaster Di is a supreme Grandmaster weaponsmith. His weaponsmithing abilities are extremely strong and he is currently establishing the Emperor Pavilion in Liefire City." Jialan Yuntian replied on behalf of Di Tian. "Junior Di Tian pays my respects to Senior Jialan." Di Tian nodded lightly to Jialan Jiangshan, neither servile nor overbearing. "Father, Grandmaster Di is truly outstanding. Back then when he took out an emperor-ranked weapon, he wasn't inferior to the one forged by the Xianyuan clan. That last Choyue really admires him." Jialan Yunhai also laughed. "Oh." Jialan Jiangshan's eyes flashed. He naturally knew about the matters between his two sons. However, they knew their limits. No matter what grudges they had in their hearts were all for the sake of the Jialan clan. At this moment, both of them were praising the same person. This meant that this mysterious masked young man was truly capable. That last Choyue is about to grow up. Jialan Jiangshan smiled at Jialan Choyue, his words causing Jialan Choyue to feel somewhat bashful and didn't reply. Although she was very close to her grandfather, Jialan Yuntian, she wasn't that familiar with her great-grandfather. But even so, she knew how imposing her great-grandfather was. Grandmaster Di. At this moment, a voice drifted over. Di Tian turned his gaze over, staring at a tall platform where the Liefire Empyrean was at. As for the person who spoke, it was none other than the governor of the Central City regions, Xia Ho. "Grandmaster Di is someone from my Liefire City and the Emperor Pavilion is also a power of my Liefire City. Why isn't Grandmaster Di in my Liefire City but is here instead?" Xia Ho calmly spoke, his voice filled with coldness. Clearly, he wanted to sow discord. As expected, the Liefire Empyrean turned his gaze in the direction of Di Tian. His eyes gleamed with a bright red light. Even the Violet Moon Fairy beside him was also staring at Di Tian with a cold expression. Back then when the scandal of the central governor's manor caused such a commotion, she was the one who personally went there to stop Xia Ho, allowing the Emperor Pavilion to continue existing. Who would have thought that right now, Xia Ho actually became a member of the Jialan clan? She didn't know if the Liefire Empyrean would blame her for not doing her job well. It's a long story. Back then, thanks to Governor Xia Ho, my Emperor Pavilion was almost unable to continue operating. In order to prevent the same thing from happening again, I could only find another path and head to the northern regions. Hence, I got acquainted with the Jialan clan. Right now, I'm not here as a representative of the Emperor Pavilion, I'm only here as a friend of the Jialan clan. Di Tian calmly replied. His words undoubtedly turned the tables on Xia Ho, telling him that he was together with the Jialan clan because of Xia Ho. He wanted to see what the Liefire Empyrean would think of this. When the Life-Fire Empyrean heard this, he naturally glanced at Xia Ho, causing Xia Ho's expression to stiffen. The gaze he used to stare at Di Tian grew even colder. Di Tian of the Emperor Pavilion pays my respects to Palace Lord. Di Tian nodded to the Life-Fire Empyrean. The Life-Fire Empyrean coldly glanced at him but didn't reply. Who didn't know about the relationship between him and the Jialan clan? Did Di Tian already choose his side? Upon seeing the Life-Fire Empyrean's expression, Di Tian's eyes flashed. Seems like after he returned, he should move the Emperor Pavilion to the northern regions. If there were any unforeseen circumstances, the Jialan clan should be able to bear it for him. It was impossible to balance between two hegemonic powers. Right now, Di Tian was in the light while he was in the dark. The best solution was to let the Life-Fire Palace and Jialan clan fight against each other. Grandmaster Di, how have you been? At this moment, in another direction, Xianyuan Hao from the Xianyuan Palace called out. Di Tian's eyes turned over again as he stared in that direction. Senior Xianyuan. Di Tian was truly low profile, he wasn't as domineering as Qin Wentian in the Jialan clan. On the contrary, he maintained sufficient humility. Grandmaster is too polite, you can just call me Xianyuan Hao. Grandmaster's glory back then is still fresh in my memory. If I'm fortunate enough to be able to invite Grandmaster Di to my Xianyuan clan for a visit, I would definitely be extremely happy. Xianyuan Hao spoke. If I'm free in the future, I, Di, will definitely pay a visit. Di Tian smiled. This Xianyuan Hao was truly giving him face. By speaking at this moment, it would undoubtedly serve as a warning to the Life-Fire Empyrean. Although it was just a simple sentence, it was already indirectly helping him. These old fellows really knew how to conduct themselves. As expected, the eyes of the Life-Fire Empyrean flashed. Although they were all from the 9 world palaces, his position was extremely unstable. If he was careless, he might lose it. If not, that old fellow Jialan Jiangshan wouldn't dare to keep staring at him. But for the Xianyuan Palace, who could shake their position? Their foundations were extremely deep. This Di Tian was actually able to gain the favor of the Xianyuan clan. From this, one could see that he was truly very capable. The various peak powers of Lifelong City arrived one after another. The experts of the 9 world palaces all turned their gazes to the throne at the top of the flight of stairs. All of a sudden, a dazzling shadow flashed, seemingly descending from the heavens. After that, a shadow landed on the throne and gradually turned corporeal, transforming into an extremely handsome young man. He seemed to be in his 20s and exuded magnificence. His hands were clasped behind his back as he smiled at everyone. Everyone started. After that, they saw the lifelong Realm Lord's appearance changing, swiftly returning to his original appearance. He looked to be in his 50s and exuded a transcendent aura, like he was a true immortal. Everyone stood up, including the Empyreans of the 9 world palaces. They stared at the young man on the throne as countless people bowed in unison, calling out in a loud voice, "We pay our respects to Realm Lord." The lifelong Realm Lord slowly sat down on the throne. If he didn't speak, no one dared to lift their heads. "Sit." The lifelong Realm Lord waved his hand and smiled. Only then did everyone incline their heads. "Thank you, Realm Lord." As the sound of his voice faded, many people sat down, feeling somewhat speechless in their hearts. When this Realm Lord appeared, he was actually a handsome young man. They had no idea what he was doing outside. Seems like he must have rushed here because the grand banquet was about to begin. However, none of them dared to ask. What cultivation base did the Realm Lord have? He was someone that transcended the lifelong realm and would often be outside. How could he always stay in the lifelong Saint Hall? As for the matters in the lifelong realm, the subordinates of the lifelong Saint Hall and the 9 world palaces would naturally help him handle them. In the blink of an eye, another 100 years have passed. The 9 world palace lords have helped me guard the various places. It has been tough on you. The lifelong realm lord spoke. The Sky Air Palace Lord was the Realm Lord's disciple. He was the first to reply, "This is originally something we should be doing. How can it be tough on us? Realm Lord, please don't make things difficult for us." The various World Palace Lords spoke. "Although I'm the lifelong Realm Lord, the matters in the lifelong realm have always been shared by all of you. Jalan should be the one to speak. Men, prepare some wine." The lifelong Realm Lord spoke. After that, many young and beautiful maidens appeared behind him, preparing the wine. In the air, celestial music suddenly rang out. After that, a group of maidens clad in white with veils on their faces slowly floated down, landing on the tall platform in the center of the banquet. The dances of the fairies from the Red Dust Immortal Palace have always been breathtaking. Today, I can finally enjoy it in peace. The lifelong Realm Lord laughed. The Red Dust Immortal Palace was a peak power that was formed from extremely beautiful maidens. Not only did they have extraordinary strength, their dances were also unparalleled. If one wanted to invite them, they would have to pay an extremely great price. Although these maidens had their faces veiled, one could still see their beauty. Also, their dance, as well as the music they sang, were all extremely beautiful. Di Tian couldn't help but to praise when he saw this scene. What a beautiful dance, what moving voices. Everyone quietly admired as their eyes flashed with shock. The resplendent starlight on the tall platform was like a dream. From there, Di Tian faintly felt a sense of familiarity. At this moment, moonlight cascaded down from the starry sky. Under the moonlight, an extremely alluring and sexy figure appeared. When the moonlight shone on her, she was like a fairy from the Moon Palace. Although she stood there quietly, her beauty was still breathtaking to the extreme. The moment she moved, it was just a simple movement, but it caused everyone's hearts to tremble uncontrollably. Beautiful, the Red Dust Immortal Palace truly lives up to its name. Too beautiful. Someone involuntarily praised. However, Di Tian's body stiffened as he stared blankly at the figure in the void. No wonder he felt a sense of familiarity. At this moment, that beauty under the moonlight was so familiar. Once, in the Jalan Emperor City, above the lake, under the moonlight, that world-shaking dance was still unforgettable. Now, it had appeared again. The eyes of the people from the Jalan clan flashed. Jalan Chuyue's beautiful eyes flashed with a bright light. She stared at the figure in the air and asked, "Grandpa, is she really someone from the Red Dust Immortal Palace?" If it wasn't for someone recording that dance in the Jalan Emperor City, I most probably wouldn't have known about this. It's precisely because of this that I had the opportunity to bring her out from the Lifefire prison, allowing her to atone for her crimes today. The Red Dust Immortal Palace was implicated in this matter, they naturally have to apologize. Jalan Yuntian didn't dare to say it directly, he transmitted his voice to Jalan Chuyue instead. Jalan Chuyue's beautiful eyes flashed. When she saw Di Tian staring at the beautiful figure in the air, her lips actually curled up into a smile. She nudged Di Tian and smiled, "Seems like this beauty has fallen." Di Tian's eyes flashed, only to hear Jalan Chuyue asking, "Do you know who she is?" Di Tian shook his head. Jalan Chuyue transmitted her voice over, "Yi Qianyu, back then it was her and Qin Wentian who caused trouble in the Jalan Emperor City. A junior captured them and imprisoned them. The Lifefire Empyrean used this to threaten Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to come to the northern city regions, wanting to deal with our Jalan clan. However, that arrogant Governor Qin actually didn't come today. Most probably, the Lifefire Empyrean doesn't want him to appear." Chapter 16:16. Di Tian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. The Lifefire Empyrean naturally didn't wish for Qin Wentian to come here. Isn't Yi Qianyu a bandit? How did she become a member of the Red Dust Immortal Palace? Di Tian pretended to be curious as he asked. The Red Dust Immortal Palace has world-shaking dances. Among them, the Mortal Dust Descent and Beauty Under the Moonlight are the two most dazzling dances of the Red Dust Immortal Palace. Ordinary people wouldn't be able to see these two dances. If the fairies of the Red Dust Immortal Palace were to perform them, they would be able to topple the hearts of the masses. Back then, after the Knight Empyrean was killed, no one knew that he had a daughter. Most probably, at that time, Yi Qianyu used her shocking beauty and talent to sneak into the Red Dust Immortal Palace to cultivate. Jialan Yuntian spoke in a low voice. Don't underestimate the dance of the Red Dust Immortal Palace. If this dance is performed with their unique ability, it can bewitch the hearts of people, causing them to fall into a trance. In fact, there's even a movement technique hidden within. It's extremely powerful. Yes. Di Tian nodded lightly. The magnificent dance on the platform finally came to a halt. The Red Dust Fairies all knelt on one knee. Yi Qianyu, who was in the center, also knelt on one knee. Everyone spoke in unison. The Red Dust Immortal Palace begs the Realm Lord for forgiveness. Oh. The lifelong Realm Lord laughed as he asked. What crime is there to be guilty of? My Red Dust Immortal Palace once accepted a disciple named Yi Qianyu, but I didn't expect her to be the daughter of the Great Bandit, the Knight Empyrean. Also, tens of years ago, the Knight Empyrean became a bandit again, causing trouble in the territories governed by the Lifire Palace. Now, I specially let Yi Qianyu perform a dance to beg for Realm Lord's forgiveness and punishment. A fairy gently spoke. The lifelong Realm Lord laughed. I didn't expect that the fairies of the Red Dust Immortal Palace would actually be bandits. This is truly a new matter. I wonder who it is. Junior Yi Qianyu apologizes to Realm Lord. Yi Qianyu lowered her head as she spoke. The lifelong Realm Lord glanced at her and smiled. I temporarily have no idea what happened. You guys can withdraw first. After the banquet is over, come to the lifelong Saint Hall and wait for my orders. I will make my decision after I understand the situation. Yes, Realm Lord. The fairies from the Red Dust Immortal Palace stood up and swiftly retreated. It's been 100 years since we last met. The major powers of my lifelong city are still as prosperous as ever. During these 100 years, are there any characters who have broken through to the Immortal Emperor realm? The lifelong Realm Lord smiled as he stared at everyone. Realm Lord, Xianyuan Mo of my Xianyuan clan has broken through to the Immortal Emperor realm. The person who spoke was the Xianyuan Palace Lord. At the same time, he was also the soul of the Xianyuan clan. Because he was busy with the affairs of the Xianyuan Palace, he did not directly control the Xianyuan clan in Lifelong City. However, his position in the Xianyuan clan was supreme. Grand Elder Xianyuan broke through. The lifelong Realm Lord's gaze soon landed on a person as he smiled. By the radiance of the Realm Lord, I'm only able to break through because of your blessings. Xianyuan Mo stood up and bowed to the lifelong Realm Lord. Stop sticking gold on my face. What does your breakthrough have to do with me? The lifelong Realm Lord joked. Sit, there's no need to be so formal. Many thanks, Realm Lord. Xianyuan Mo sat down. After that, an expert from the Sword Spirit sect also spoke, saying that someone in their sect has broken through and stepped into that level. The lifelong Realm Lord stroked his beard and was extremely happy. He then asked, where's Xiaoyu? I remember that Xiaoyu from the Sword Spirit sect has extraordinary talent and is currently the Grand Governor of Lifelong City. Did I remember wrongly? The eyes of everyone froze. The people from the Sword Spirit sect also fell silent. Originally, it was an extremely glorious matter to be remembered by the Realm Lord. But just a few days ago, the news of Xiaoyu's defeat had already circulated. Xiaoyu's expression stiffened. If it was in the past, he would definitely stand up with pride. But right now, not only did he feel that he had no face, he could naturally sense the peculiar expressions on the faces of those from the Sword Spirit sect. Your subordinate is here. The Realm Lord spoke. Xiaoyu eventually still stood up and lowered his head. Xiaoyu, why do you look so dispirited? The lifelong Realm Lord laughed. Reporting to Realm Lord, a few days ago, a mysterious expert appeared in my lifelong city. He challenged the 4 governors of the northern region and all 4 of them were defeated, including Xiaoyu. The sect leader of the Sword Spirit sect spoke. The eyes of the lifelong Realm Lord flashed, but he still smiled. Which power is he from? Is he here today? I have no idea where he came from. He doesn't seem to be here today as well. The Sword Spirit sect leader spoke. Interesting. The lifelong Realm Lord laughed. Seems like many extraordinary emperors have appeared in my lifelong city during these years. Although I'm the Realm Lord, I've left most of my matters to the 9 world palaces and the various governors to manage. I don't know much about the matters of the lifelong realm. Today, I shall take this opportunity to take a look at the experts of my lifelong realm. Same rules, everyone who came today can participate in the Emperor-ranked competition. I will heavily reward those who can become the top 10. The eyes of many emperors gleamed with sharpness. This was a grand banquet that occurred once every 100 years. The lifelong Realm Lord would gather the experts of the 9 world palaces and the various major powers here to enjoy the banquet. In truth, this was a gathering for him as the lifelong Realm Lord and his subordinates. At the same time, they could enjoy the delicacies, the dances of beauties and the battles of the martial path. And to a world that revered martial arts, the battles of the martial path were undoubtedly the most anticipated. This was especially so if they could perform well in front of the Realm Lord and would be heavily rewarded. How rare was this opportunity? It would only occur once every 100 years. They all understood that this was an opportunity. It wasn't as simple as sparring on the surface. The truly outstanding ones would enter the vision of the lifelong Saint Hall and would be heavily promoted in the future. Right now, there were many people with high positions in the lifelong Saint Hall, including the 9 world palace lords, the 36 governors, the 4 grand governors and many other Empyreans in the lifelong Saint Hall. Many of them had come out from the grand banquet that was held once every 100 years. There was also no need for the lifelong Saint Hall to intentionally select geniuses from the younger generations. The frequency of the grand banquet that occurred once every 100 years was considered very high. As long as the geniuses grew up, they wouldn't miss out on this opportunity and would be used by them. Hence, this grand banquet only had emperors competing against each other. For those who wished to participate, get up the platform. A figure walked out. This person was none other than the protector of the lifelong Realm Lord. His strength was extraordinary and he was the personal attendant of the Realm Lord. Although his authority wasn't as great as the 9 world palace lords, he was still a close subject of the Realm Lord and his status wasn't inferior at all. In an instant, numerous figures soared through the air and landed on the platform. All of them were immortal emperors and the vast majority of them were peak stage immortal emperors. This lineup was extremely terrifying. The majority of them were from the various major powers of Lifelong City, as well as some from the territories of the 9 world palaces. They came here to fight for their futures. If they could enter the top 10, not only would the Realm Lord bestow precious rewards upon them, they might even be placed in an important position. Even if they couldn't enter the top 10, as long as they were outstanding enough, they might still be noticed by the lifelong Saint Hall and be entrusted with heavy responsibilities in the future. Is there no one from our Jialan clan participating? Jialan Jiangshan glanced at the experts of the Jialan clan as he asked. All the major powers have sent out their experts. You guys better not disappoint me. As the sound of his voice faded, 5 experts from the Jialan clan immediately stood up and rushed towards the platform. All of them were peak stage immortal emperors. Jialan Chuyue's beautiful eyes flashed. When she saw the experts from the various powers descending on the platform, she felt a stirring in her heart, wanting to act. Chuyue, your cultivation base is too low. Wait until you break through to the peak stage of the immortal emperor realm before you go. Jialan Yuntian spoke to Jialan Chuyue who was beside him. It wasn't so easy to jump levels. This was especially so for those who stepped out. Many of them were already peak stage immortal emperors, including some of the more dazzling existences in Lifelong City. Let alone Jialan Chuyue, even for the 5 experts from the Jialan clan, it would already be a miracle if one of them could enter the top 10. Yes, Grandpa. Jialan Chuyue's beautiful eyes flashed with disappointment. She glanced at Di Tian beside her and blinked, seems like this time around, we can only be spectators. Is that so? Di Tian's black eyes flashed with a strange light. Jialan Chuyue suddenly spoke, "Oh yeah, you still haven't told me your purpose for coming to Lifelong City. Is it also for the sake of spectating the grand banquet this time around?" "No." Di Tian shook his head. "Then why?" Jialan Chuyue was puzzled. This fellow, he was already here but he actually denied it. For the sake of participating. Di Tian laughed. After that, he stood up, causing Jialan Chuyue to start. After that, a strange look flashed on her face as she asked, "Di Tian, you want to participate?" Jialan Yuntian also turned his gaze to Di Tian as his eyes gleamed with sharpness. Di Tian wanted to participate. "Emicham, I want to participate." Di Tian nodded. "Grandmaster Di, your name is famous throughout Lifire City for your weaponsmithing. But this is a competition of the martial path. Also, many of the participants are peak-stage immortal emperors with outstanding combat prowess, already standing at the peak of the immortal emperor realm. Although I don't doubt Grandmaster Di's combat prowess, your cultivation base is still a level lower than mine. Do you want to reconsider?" Jialan Yuntian tactfully spoke. Although this battle would end when the victor is determined, it was inevitable that there would be accidental injuries. Di Tian was only a mid-stage immortal emperor. If he participated, even if he could retreat safely, he would still be injured. "Di Tian, don't tell me you really want to participate." Jialan Chuyue's beautiful eyes stared at Di Tian. Although this fellow's weaponsmithing abilities were extraordinary, he was still a mid-stage immortal emperor after all. In combat, emperor-ranked weapons weren't allowed to be used. How could he compete against those peak-stage geniuses? "Do you not trust me so much?" Di Tian asked. "It's not that I don't trust you. Although your weaponsmithing abilities are extraordinary, but..." Jialan Chuyue's eyes flashed with anxiety, she didn't know how to persuade him. "I'm going." Di Tian didn't say anything more. With a flash of his silhouette, he soared through the air and appeared on the battle platform. Di Tian's appearance attracted the attention of those from the Lifire Palace. The eyes of many people flashed. Many major powers from the Lifire Palace came here, they naturally knew of Di Tian's name. The Yen clan, Lu clan, Mo clan, all sent people here. Back then when Lu Feibai challenged Di Tian rejected. But now,